Welcome back. How good was that timing? That was a
That
retweet
was,
in the last second.
yeah, you just did it. Did you actually get everything sent out like you need to, or
I think so. We've got
yeah?
2,292 live with us. Welcome, everybody,
Welcome, guys.
to the podcast, the Opposition podcast, which we have been doing now con-
I think
consistently.
4 weeks, at least 4 weeks consistently. So,
Tuesdays,
and
Thursdays.
twice a week as well. So that's pretty cool.
How does it feel to be consistent, something you're not used to?
Nah, mate, feels good actually, to be honest, because it is one of those things. Yeah, when you do videos and you do vlogs and you think you're going to keep doing it every week, something always comes up. So it's very important to keep it on the schedule.
And you're there in Sri Lanka. How is the trip?
Trip is going good. I'm actually in the like the upcountry, the tea estate area, up in a hill in a like an old British bungalow. Yeah, it's pretty good. There's like a few rooms everyone's staying in, and then we also have the staff who are looking after us and cooking meals and stuff like this. So I can't complain. It's actually very nice over here in Sri Lanka where I am right now.
I noticed yesterday you put up a post crying for what I would call what's this doing? I don't want that. No, I want to go back here. Here we go. Why do you feel the need to post a photo of yourself in crutches in Sri Lanka? Like we're meant to feel sorry for
Look,
you. You're on holiday.
no, people have asked me for updates how I'm going. So even on the show, I talk about my injury and so on. So it's just an update post and where I am and what I'm doing. So some people are very interested in where I am, and obviously
Can you
some
just
people want
stop
to
it?
deport me.
Can you stop it? Can
And
you stop posting
I'm, I'm
photos?
I'm I'm trying to do what you do best, which is to get people to feel sorry for you.
I'm just disappointed in you. There was no URL. Save
There's
Rukshan's leg in
save, yeah,
in Sri Lanka.com.
donateformycrutches.com.
Okay, on a serious note, we've got a packed show tonight. So much happening around the world. Welcome to everybody here. Now, as you can see, the scrolling comments, we've been loving that down the bottom below us both there. That is the YouTube live comments. All comments go through. We don't control that. So you're free to abuse Rukshan or myself, whatever, as much as you like, until wait, there is. I said you can get banned though if you abuse it. I think
There is
there's
moderation. Obviously, YouTube does
moderation.
their own moderation.
No,
Yeah,
we've
so
got
you got to
some
be
people
careful, I
at
guess.
Rebel making sure that I don't cop
There's
too
that
much.
moderation as well, of course.
But you can have your say, get involved in the conversation there, and of course, those of you who want to support our show, you can hit the super chats in the on YouTube too. So both on Rukshan's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel, super chats. We'll read every single one of them throughout the show. So not only do you get featured in it, but you can actually direct the conversation. All right, where do we start?
Yeah, I
Was there any
mean,
other housekeeping I forgot?
no housekeeping. I was
No.
just trying to ponder what you said. Where do we start? Because I do feel like we are in truly historic times in a way. With everything that's happening, it is a massive point of inflection, whichever way, or this kind of something happening. And it's obviously there's a lot of tragedy, but I think even there's some positives as well that could come out of this for the rest of the world. So it's a very interesting time for the world at large.
Yep, I've got. I think through the show at some point, about half an hour, we've got somebody from Israel calling in to let us know how things are going on the ground there. But I think we get straight into the news of the day globally, and that is Donald Trump. There's been a bit of a shift within the. I don't know if it's a real shift. There have been those who are very upset, who claim to be part of the MAGA and claim to be Trump supporters, who say Trump is breaking all his promises. We're going into World War III now, and this is not what they voted for. So I think the first thing we should open this show with is, what has Trump's message been consistently? Because a lot of the people, and as we'll go through in the show, a lot of the people condemning him are the ones who have in fact changed their messages. Donald Trump hasn't. Let's watch Donald Trump, somebody's put together 16 minutes. We don't have to watch the full 16 minutes. I'll run it a bit faster. But this is Donald Trump in his own words over a long period of time.
2 administrations, I guess.
Two administrations,
long period of time.
talking about this exact issue.
That Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today.
It's in the campaign. It's everywhere.
Never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great.
Speed it
but
right
you cannot
up,
have a nuclear weapon. You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Instead, we have a very hostile country that wants nuclear weapons. Can't let that happen. The main thing is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my main thing. The deal was a simple deal. Iran can't have a nuclear, it can't have a missile, can't have a nuclear missile. It cannot have that nuclear capability.
Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. They should have never been in a position where they could have had. If I were president, they wouldn't even be thinking about a nuclear weapon. And now they're months away from getting one because Biden doesn't have any idea what he's doing. He's grossly incompetent, and he has no idea. Iran should never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and Biden should never have allowed them to get this far.
They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. With Iran, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Hope we're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon because once they do, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different negotiation. I'm not looking to hurt them. I want them to be great. Let them be happy and good. But they can't have a nuclear weapon. And now they're very close to having one. And, it's very dangerous to the world. Very dangerous to the world. I mean, the biggest problem today, in my opinion, the biggest risk is the nuclear weapons. The weaponry is so powerful today. I want them to be a strong country. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
Dangerous to be talking about impacting nuclear facilities?
You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. You have to understand, I didn't want much. All I wanted is you can never have a nuclear weapon. I didn't want much. I wanted Iran to be very successful. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Because that's the real threat. The real threat
There's
is global
16
war.
minutes of that, and you can see that his consistent message, and this is what's important. Anybody who claims to be a Trump supporter, who have supported his message the whole time, cannot say that they didn't vote or support this, because this is exactly, and that's only a few minutes in, and I had it at 2 times speed. This is exactly what he's been saying for a long time now.
Yeah, and he's expanded on that as well. Obviously, that's just getting the snippet of his thoughts on that, but he's delved deep into why they can't have a nuclear weapon and what he would do if that ever became the scenario. So it does feel, if you look at it from the perspective of Trump and his the views that he's very clearly articulated over a number of years now, and perhaps what Iran was up to, it does appear like they've crossed a red line in Trump's eyes, at least, and he's willing to now escalate it to such a point where we're seeing what's happening right now. So yes, a lot of the people that are running around saying like, oh, where did this come from, no new wars and all these kind of things, completely discount the fact that Trump has always maintained this particular line when it comes to Iran. So you have to kind of weigh those things up and put it into perspective. And it does appear from everything we've seen, Trump has been very consistent on this stance. So you can't just rule out his response to what Iran is doing or alleged to be doing. And there are people who will bring up things like, what was it? The Tulsi Gabbard, his DNI, Director of National Intelligence, has made comments regarding this and said, they don't think Iran is capable, or their assessments of the intelligence community, doesn't see Iran being capable of right now. But Trump today, when he was asked about that, he completely dismissed that. So, we can't, when we're arguing about this and, commentators talking about this, you have to look at the entire picture. And, as commentators, we're only privy to so much. It doesn't matter how high up you are and what contacts you have. The information that Donald Trump is getting, the information that, his intelligence officers are getting and, the people around him are getting is very different to what people are commentating on. And we have to kind of take him at his own word right now, as it is, at face value in terms of what he's saying. And then obviously people can judge him based on whether evidence, he can support that, whether, if he makes a decision that he can back that up. Obviously people will be the judge of that. But I don't think we can ever have that parity between what the President of the United States of America knows and what commentators on the internet and news people know. I don't think it's ever going to be equal because obviously they're privy to so much more information.
And I think it's also important to note that recently the IAEA report came out, which did indicate that they were much closer to being able to obtain a nuclear weapon, that it was potentially imminent. And when you ask what a preemptive strike under international law is basically if you believe that there is an imminent threat, so compounding the two issues. So the international, what is it? The International Atomic Energy Agency, is that right?
Energy Agency, yeah.
So with them saying that they believe that because they're being lied to so much and they're being hidden, and there obviously are components to the nuclear program within Iran that they are hiding, and that they're very secretive about, that they believe that they are enriching, and it is very close to the time where they can weaponize it. And then on top of that, you have a country in which, days ago, there are massive rallies where they're chanting death to Israel, death to America. So with those two things, I think that it is fair to say that that is, at least in Israel's eyes, you can make the argument as an American that maybe not. I think you're probably a little bit short-sighted if you don't see how a nuclear jihadi state like Iran is not a threat to you, who believe that you are the big Satan and Israel is the little Satan. If you don't see how that's a threat to you, that's probably your own blindness. But at least in Israel's perspective, that is a real threat to their existence. Because the moment they have it, we know jihadis don't mind blowing themselves up. They're suicide bombers. And they may not, Israel, when you look at the land mass, is tiny in comparison to Iran, a giant. That's why so Israel knocks out most of even the ballistic missiles get shot down. But all it takes is 2 or 3 hits in every few hundred. That's what's happening. They're firing a couple of hundred at a time. And 2 or 3 land, and you see the kind of devastation in Israel that causes. So imagine there wasn't all the air defenses. And then on top of that, just imagine there was a nuclear head on one of those. So for Israel, 100%, it is a preemptive strike of self-defense. But people can argue about it. More importantly,
but even on that, the way that I see, I've been following this very closely now, especially in trying to interpret what Donald Trump's been doing this with his messaging, because it can be quite confusing for people who are taking him very literally with his tweets and his posts. Because one day he's like, we're going to go for peace. The next day he's like, all right, we're going to bomb you. It's kind of this kind of two sides, right? The angel and Satan. Even within Trump himself, he's like kind of warning, and then other times he's trying to find peace. So it's very confusing, people who are trying to read into what he's saying. And I think a lot of that has been this kind of good cop, bad cop type scenario that a lot of people have mentioned, where Trump's kind of try to play the good guy, maybe go for the peace talks, whereas Israel is going in with the attack and really putting it to the Iranian regime. But all of this tends to lead back to the fact that I think Trump's been aware and in control of everything that's been happening over the last few weeks. As these negotiations have been ongoing, I don't think he's liked the direction that the negotiations are going with the Iranians. You can tell that from the way he's kind of talked about it just briefly when he mentions the talks. And I think he's, not, I wouldn't say orchestrated, but he's been very, given the green light almost for these preemptive strikes to happen. Like people say, it happened without him knowing and all this kind of stuff. I don't buy into any of that nonsense. I think he's been in control the entire time. And a lot of this has been a negotiating tactic to put pressure on the Iranians to come to the negotiating table, which he's still doing today, even with the stuff that he said today. He's still trying to give them that little bit of breathing room to come to the negotiating table and actually do a deal which benefits Trump and the US administration and the world at large. I don't think he's playing Iran's games like they've been doing for the last, however many decades, where they've been taking people for a ride. I think this time he's really serious, and he's actually showing them, I'm actually very serious, and I can, really screw things up for you guys and your regime if you don't play ball with me. And he's not afraid to let Israel off the leash, let's put it in those terms, and then even come in later on and be heavy-handed on Iran himself, if that has to be, what needs to be done to take care of this issue. And, I think a lot of reasonable people around the world who look at Iran for what it is, which is a state sponsor of terrorism, a terrorist regime themselves, oppressing their own people. People who are looking at that, why do people want to deal with decades and decades and decades of this nonsensical back and forth with negotiating with these people, right? So Trump, I think, is looking at it from this angle. Like, why would he waste his time negotiating some other nonsense deal with them again, just for them to break it just before the next US election? I think it's really putting pressure on
they're just
him.
buying time, and he knows it.
Yeah.
And I think the point that you made before, which I can't remember if we were discussing this last episode. No, because it all happened. This all broke out on Friday, didn't it? This broke out on Friday after our last episode.
Five. I think 5 days ago. Yeah.
But it was we haven't. The Iran thing didn't break before.
No. It happened.
I think anyone that believes that Trump was not, firstly, didn't know anything about it, or was not a part of it, is either naive or delusional. Like, the idea that Israel went ahead without his blessing and somehow picked the 61st day, because remember, Trump warned Iran, you have 60 days to make this deal, to finish it, not to keep negotiating after the 60 days, to finish this deal, to have a deal. On day 61, Israel strikes. You're telling me they did that without his permission, without his knowledge? Not going to happen. Yeah. On top of that, I think if I were to guess anything, I believe that Trump was a part of the plan. He was playing along. He was telling Iran, we'll meet on Sunday, which fine. He was still willing to meet on Sunday. But that was also just to make them feel comfortable and relaxed, so Israel could go in there and surgically target, as you saw in some of those images on the first attack, where they pinpointed the apartment and managed to take out the top brass in one hit across the board. And in fact, they replaced
them, and
they replaced one, and now today I think the new leader was already taken as well. So I think Trump was definitely a part of that, and I think anyone that thinks otherwise is either lying to themselves or just don't understand how
this Trump administration, I feel like they're very results orientated. They only care about the end result. So if that means Trump has to make statements in public which are contradictory, or they have to do a bit of showmanship and make false impressions to the Iranians in public and all these things, they'll do that, because I think at the end of the day, Trump is he's looking for the result that's best for his country, for the United States of America, of course, the world and Israel. But America first is very much in line with the way that he's thinking, and he does not care the things that he has to do to get that result. So whether that means tricking the Iranians for a couple of days, for whatever reason, as a strategic type of play on the world stage, at least, if it helps his cause, he's willing to do it. So I think that's why a lot of people are confused with a lot of this messaging that's out there in public from him and his team, who are saying contradictory things most of the time. And then something happens and Trump is like, yeah, we knew about it. Yeah, we always, that was the plan. We had to do that, So when he talks, you should listen very carefully to he talks in the past tense about knowing these things and approving these things. It's very subtle, but he always kind of, takes it back to the fact that he was involved in some way in these decisions.
I think to the viewers, I think to the 5,434 people tuned in tonight, and welcome everyone. Make sure to hit the like and share button. Make sure if you're on YouTube to subscribe and hit the notification bell as well. Get it out there. We're doing all these lives twice a week at least, but our channels are also doing additional lives. But welcome tonight. For the viewers out there watching this, like, my piece of advice when you're watching Trump's rhetoric, and I'm saying this to Trump supporters and Trump haters alike, because both of them go into meltdown, and even Trump supporters who are pro-Israel and Trump supporters who somehow are anti-Israel, they all go into meltdown alike. I say to them, when Trump, you got to watch Trump and understand what his rhetoric, what his game playing, and what you need to take seriously. What you need to take seriously is action. Every action is serious with him. Rhetoric is often, like what he said today when he left the G7, is, he warned the entire Tehran to evacuate. Does that mean America's going in to bomb the entire Tehran tonight? No. What's he trying to do? He's probably trying to cause chaos in Tehran, shake the regime a little bit, send the underground that's in Iran now, the people that have been protesting, the people that want to stand up and rise up against the Islamist government. He wants to empower them. He wants to cause chaos. He wants to, show support for Israel. I don't know. He's going to the war room. We don't know what it actually means. But reading into that and believing, I'm seeing condemnations. How dare you? There's civilians in Tehran. This is not the... Mate, chill. Same was to go with pro-Israel people who, weeks ago, and also anti-Israel people. The whole TikTok over the last couple of months have been reading into things Trump is saying, and they're going, Trump is turning on Israel, this. And I'm sitting here, and I'm seeing it from both sides. I'm seeing anti-Israel people celebrating Trump walking away from supporting Israel, and pro-Israel people devastated by what Trump is saying. And then you wake up and you realize, okay, firstly, every single piece of action has been consistent with everything he's ever campaigned for. And I
think it's all been it's been very meticulously planned as well. So if you consider like some of the things, there was a few weeks ago, I think it was in Europe, and he met with the new leader from Syria on the sidelines. Yeah. So these type of interactions shows that, and there was no fanfare about that, and the discussions weren't really kind of made public or anything like this. So a lot of these things now you're seeing, Syria's kind of opened up its airspace to Iranian jets. As far as is that am I correct?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah, so they've opened up airspace.
Well,
whatever.
Look, I don't think it means much because Israel's operating anyways.
Doesn't mean much anyway, but they've publicly stated that.
It's very symbolic. Remember, this is the past leader of Al Qaeda, no friend of Israel. He's named Jolani, which is after the Golan Heights, which is what Syria always considered occupied Syrian territory, which Israel in no way ever is going to be giving that to Syria. So this is a guy that comes from a family that comes from that area. It's a big shift to turn around and say, we're allowing you, we're opening up the Syrian airspace for Israel to operate to fight Iran. Now, there's a reason for that. Syria has, the new Syrian regime has, there's no love lost between them and Iran. Iran was literally the backers, Hezbollah that butchered their people, butchered Jolani's, that's the war between the Sunnis and the Shia that's been going on since the beginning of Islam, or at least the Shia and Sunni split of Islam. So there's no love lost. They're happy for Israel to take on things, but for them to come, they didn't quietly do it. If you look at Saudi Arabia and even the United Arab Emirates, which have now made peace and are very friendly to Israel, and that are gaining a lot out of Israel taking out Iran. They're celebrating quietly, but they put out public statements, a bit like America, distancing themselves from it, but they're secretly, for sure, helping Israel achieve its aims, because they also want to achieve those aims. They just don't want to broaden the war. And that's what I'm seeing here. That seems like such a great operation across the board there in the Middle East with all the American allies. They're working together to not allow this conflict to go beyond Iran and Israel. Or if America strikes, it's going to be at a point where it's already I think now it's already too late for Iran. It looks like Iran has been decimated. You think about it this way: Israel controls the entire airspace of Iran. I think there was a report earlier today where they granted permission for America to fly over Iran. That's where we've gotten to a point there. So Iran's already lost in a big way.
That's the thing I don't understand with this lot of fear mongering about World War III and all this
stuff.
There's
no World War.
So let's take before this conflict, right? Before all this kind of went down with Iran, my perception of Iran was very different, and maybe it matched a lot of the perceptions that a lot of these commentators have about Iran and their superiority and their might and the way that they would behave if Israel postured at them in a certain way, or if the US attacked or whatever. We all have these ideas in our head of what Iran is capable of and what they can do, and you see these impressive videos and you hear about their army and their weapons and all these kind of things. But even for me personally, that all changed after a couple of days of watching what Israel did to them. A relatively small country with advanced weapons and technology and support, of course, from the West to be able to do some of this. But my perception of what Iran is, and and I imagine it's for much of the Middle East and other countries like Russia and China, the perception of Iran has lowered to almost that of a third world military that is incapable of defending itself in any capacity whatsoever. You have to understand, for a country the size of Israel, to go into Iran in a couple of days and take up almost a complete military leadership, the intelligence leadership, let's forget about the physical targets, but just to take the leadership out in that fashion, there is almost nothing comparable to that in modern times. Even during the world wars and stuff like this kind of thing did not happen. So what Israel has achieved in that short amount of time to diminish the capacity of the Iranian regime that was so highly up there, it's an embarrassment. Really, I'm just talking about from that sense, from the Iranian sense.
And if you look at
it's a complete embarrassment.
And if you look at the other side of that, is what has Iran managed to do in return? They haven't hit one. You see a lot of fake reports on that Suleiman or whatever, like all these Twitter accounts, announcing the death of high-ranking people that are not even the AI images, but they haven't managed to get anyone besides a few indiscriminate rockets that have gone in, which have created, real devastation inside of Israel. But it's killing just random civilians. They're not being able to really hit anything of any substance or anything important.
Yeah, I knew the moment I realized the Iranian army was completely pathetic and just not capable in this particular scenario, and it's not World War III, is when their parliament and other officials in that country turned towards Pakistan as almost their savior. I watched some speeches within the Iranian parliament the other day, and they're praising Pakistan and how they're going to come in and help them, and they're talking about getting nukes from Pakistan, all these kind of crazy things. Pakistan is a failed third world nation. It can't do anything. Like, even though it's like another paper tiger.
Pakistan's not going to do it. You saw what happened when Pakistan and India had a little thing. They begged for America to end it.
As someone from Southeast Asian background heritage, Pakistan is not going to do crap when it comes to that particular conflict. They are terrified of the Western powers. They are terrified of their losing aid and status and all these other problems that they have in their country. They are not capable. They're just talking nonsense. So, the moment I noticed the Iranians kind of turned towards Pakistan, I'm like, what has happened to this, great Iranian regime and army and stuff? It's pathetic. And I think what Trump sees this weakness right now, and he's not going to back down to them and give terms which are. Sorry, my camera cut out again.
Iran's taking us out already. There we go. He's back.
I'll be back.
Let's quickly jump to super chats because I've got a guest on the line from Israel. But let's quickly read the super chats we've got so far. Thank you everyone for the super chats. Hit that super chat.
This is from Baz the Dark Horse. Hey Avi, when you attend the next secret meeting of the Jews, could you please find out what Israel will use the space laser? I want set in alarm and watch it live. Please, Rook. P.S. Rook for PMTV.
Appreciate it. I think he's making fun of what's her name? Marjorie Green Taylor, is that her name?
Marjorie MJT.
Yeah, they've I think she was the one who said that Jews have the space lasers. We'll let you know. We'll send it to you. That's only going to be for super chatters. So make sure to super chat. Keep the super chats up. Thank you, Baz Dark Horse, for that one. What do we got here?
This is from Mark. Thanks for the super chat. Regular MAGA voters not mad at Trump. Famous says pundits are mad at Trump. Those who bash Trump will feel the wrath of the real MAGA voters.
I agree, and we're going to get into that soon, a bit later in the show, where we break down a bit of that. And I agree with you, and we've been talking about this. The people that are attacking Trump, to be honest, either haven't been paying attention, been ignoring Trump's consistent record on this the whole time, but thirdly, they're hoping Israel will fail because they are about to be embarrassed. Every single prediction of theirs has been proven so wrong so far within this conflict. So I agree with you. That is my prediction as well in this one. Baz has another one. Sorry,
Baz. Sorry for the typo, lads. Should have put my glasses on. Rook for PM. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thank you for the second super chat for that correction, but you didn't have to end with Rook for PM. I wouldn't vote for him. Guys, let us know if you'd vote for Rook Shan as PM in the YouTube comments. We've got
This chambers of blood, thanks, mate. Iran has a right to defend itself. Lol.
yes.
I mean, I don't know in what context that's made. Yeah, so Iran has a right to defend itself. They can defend themselves, but they're not doing a very good job.
I think the lol. I don't know if the lol is laughing at Iran trying to defend itself, and you've done. Chambers has done the same comment.
They're not.
Oh no! This Chambers says we're not going to read it. So I think
read it out. Will you? Based, yeah. Look, Iran is not living up to the expectations that the IRCJ has set over almost 30, 40 years.
Though.
Yeah, they're not living up to expectations, and I think it's fine to criticize them, even to mock them, because they have been shown to be a paper tiger. Even like the Russians and the Chinese, how could they would be laughing at them as well? Like, it's just, I don't know how you look at what's happened to Iran over the last couple of days and think that they are a force to be reckoned with for a country like the United States of America, if Israel can decapitate them so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that good on you. Just so you know, if you super chat us, unless you say something that I can't bring up on screen, we will absolutely read it, even if it is not supporting our thing. So go ahead and super chat us. It supports our show, so we appreciate you spamming. That was a spam of 3 or 4 comments of saying the same thing and claiming we won't read it. We absolutely will read it, because if you pay for it, it is our duty to allow you to read it. Now, I'm going to bring in Daniel Lurie. Let's see if I can, if it pulls up. He's got a blank screen. Daniel, can you hear us?
I can indeed, yep.
I'm not sure what's wrong with your camera, but so you're looking nice and black. Is your camera on? Have you set your camera on? Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Let's...
1 second.
That's all right. Listen, I thought the Israelis were good at technology. This is you're starting to act very Iranian here.
Speaking of technology, while he fixes the camera, it looks like the Mossad or Israel, whatever, has taken out the ATMs and bank readers in Iran.
All of them.
They've hacked their banking.
Where are you seeing this report?
It's just coming through on X. Different people posting about it, but it looks like they've disabled all the avenues for people to withdraw money from digital banking services.
That's something that actually makes me really want to pull out my cash to ensure, because cash is king, and through COVID we learnt that, and there are a lot of people that campaign on that issue, and this is another example. I know we don't live in Iran,
but I don't know how many people in Iran rely solely on money in the bank through digital means, but yeah, obviously it's going to have an impact on people trying to withdraw funds during this kind of chaos that's ongoing there.
I'm just seeing Daniel, they're trying to fix his camera. So while he fixes that, we'll read a couple more super chats and then we'll get an update there from Israel. There you go.
From Cruel Intentions, thanks for super chat. What Trump knows is that it's time we let Israel finally win. Iran needs to remove Islam from its borders, return to being Persia.
And that's true. There's a lot, prior to the revolution, Iran was one of the most beautiful places in the Middle East. It was considered, I think, like the Paris of the Middle East at the time. It was, if you look at the photos of people partying, videos of people partying, girls in shorts, bikinis, and there were also Muslims there. There was no problem. But it was the mullahs and that Islamic revolution that ruined the country. I've got a lot of Persian. There was a big Persian Jewish community prior to that revolution. A lot of them escaped after to Israel and Australia, and we are already booking flights in the hope that it falls. Let's see if we've got him now. Oh, we do. He's here. Daniel, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Firstly, mate, thanks for coming on.
How are you doing?
First of all, it's much easier, it seems, to take over Tehran than it is to turn on my camera. So it's listen. Ultimately, the line of Israel has risen, and these times, notwithstanding some people being killed and injured, which is a tragedy, what is taking place is nothing short of miraculous, historical, and I'm part of it. I was always envious of those people who lived around the time of 1948, that there was the Holocaust and suddenly there's the miracle of the War of Independence, or even the Six-Day War, within 6 days wiping out 5 nations. And I was envious of that. But I'm living today in the most unbelievable period where things are taking place of a monumental, epic proportions. Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iran, all within a space following a tragedy, of course, of October the 7th, but phenomenal things are happening. Phenomenal.
Obviously, for our
Sorry,
viewers
Avi,
that
I
don't
just
know
want
who
to
you
comment.
are,
I just want to, sorry, Avi, I just want to come in with some breaking news as well. We might interrupt as we go, but Trump's just tweeted as well. So I think this is important to what we're discussing. Trump has said, "I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives." So I just want to put that in there because that's just breaking just now. Trump saying that all the stuff about them having a deal or a meeting, it's not true. He's never reached out to them for peace talks. They can reach out to him if they want, and they should have taken the deal. Sorry to interrupt.
no, interrupt us for those breaking news. That's why we have you. You do nothing else on the show, so at least do that. Daniel, for people who don't know you, for the viewers who don't know you, we've been friends now for a few years, but who are you? And what are you doing in Israel?
I am an everyday Jew who was brought up to believe, and I still believe that my true home is the land of Israel. We have a small territory that God gave the Jewish people, and I've been blessed to be able to live in Israel today, and even more so, being blessed, being involved in trying to keep Jerusalem in Jewish hands. I mean, this whole war is not just about the destruction of the Jewish state. It's about the desire of parts of the Muslim world to have Al-Quds, Jerusalem. And I'm involved in the battle to try and keep Jerusalem, that it stays firmly in Jewish hands. But lucky enough also to be living in this period, I say again, because it really is something rather unique. Who would have believed that we would be in this situation today 2 years ago? Everyone, all the pundits, all the politicians, all the generals, the whole world. Now we can't do anything with the octopus, with Iran and all the proxies. Where are the proxies? Where are they all today? What
Do you
is
know,
Israel managed to...
I was having this conversation yesterday, I think maybe with Rukshan, where, the Jew haters, the Israel haters, or whatever, the anti-Zionists, who just want to see Israel fail and often Jews hurt, the conspiracy theory has been that Israel allowed October 7th to happen so that they could, so they could take over Gaza, whatever it is, right? But now seeing what October 7 has caused, essentially from that first attack and then Hezbollah joining in and the Houthis and then Iran, I'm starting to believe them in a weird way, going, this is just almost too good to be true, that Israel has I know that it's not true. I know that Israel is obviously taking a really horrible situation and just turned, made, lemonade out of lemons. Like, they've just turned a horrible situation into a miracle where they seem to be fixing, and probably soon it looks like Iran is possibly going to fall from this. And that's it. That's the end of all those problems. But do you ever look at it and wonder, I guess you believe in, you're a religious man, so I guess your answer is quite easy, or correct me if I'm mistaken, but you're just not like, that was God's will. But I can see how somebody who falls for conspiracies and is inundated with those messages every day, where you could think that maybe this was Israel's plan the whole time.
I don't know anyone can say that. I mean, any rational person seeing what has taken place since October the 7th can only say one thing, and that is that maybe we took too long to wake up. We've never finished off the Arab enemies around us, and it took such a massive tragedy over the proportions of October the 7th to wake up this sleeping lion. We should have acted a long time ago. We shouldn't be handing away tiny lands of Israel, not reading between the lines, not listening to what they were saying. They wanted to destroy the Jewish people. We handed away land. They wanted to destroy the Jewish people. They're getting weapons. They're building tunnels. They're not caring about their own people. They had one focus, and we didn't wake up. We needed, unfortunately, and I say it with, it's a tragedy. We needed, unfortunately, something like 7th of October to say, what the hell is going on here? This is no longer acceptable. We're fighting for our existence today, and we're doing something about it. And we have finally woken up to such an extent where the world is going to be writing about what we've done for years to come. Not just with the beepers. I mean, the beepers is a baby.
Oh, now the beepers looks like nothing. The beepers look
No.
like a tiny operation in comparison to Iran.
It's a 100%.
I think that's an interesting counter argument, and I agree with you. That's, you know, I know you say no rational person can fall for the other narrative. Unfortunately, there are a lot of rational people falling for it because that is being pushed to people around the world, here in Australia, in Britain, everywhere, the entire Arab world, from all sides, from the extreme right, from the extreme left, from the, you know, or the majority of the 2 billion Muslims. Like, it is, and the communists. And so it's getting pushed from all directions that Israel set this up so that they can achieve what they're achieving. So, like, their own success is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the only way that they'll believe it's not true is if Israel just goes and dies. But unfortunately, that's not happening for them. And your counter.
It's not happening, and they're going to have to turn around and admit at some point very, very soon that this is what needs. By the way, Israel's not just fighting its own battle against Iran and the proxies. This is a much deeper battle over Muslim fundamentalism, about Western values, about Christian Judeo values. This is a much bigger, just going and destroying a nuclear there. This is a battle for the continuation of humanity. We're fighting for Europe, for America, and even if we have to do it alone, we will be alone, and we will be successful.
I've got some more comments from Trump, so I'll just read.
Where are you pulling it up? I could bring it up on screen. Is that?
I'm just getting it here and there from X, but it's paraphrased. So pretty much, the pace of attacks will not slow down. On the question of American intervention, I hope the nuclear program is eliminated long before that. Trump says he's not too much in the mood to negotiate with Iran. He said, "I have no desire to negotiate with Iran. I expect nothing less than their complete surrender." So he's fully on like a.
It's very funny. This is shutting up, isn't it, Daniel? All those, both Israel supporters and Israel haters alike. We were discussing this before you came on, that question Trump because of his rhetoric, and I believe Trump was playing a game. He was involved in the organization of these operations. He was full. It's no thing that. He gave us 60 days, and on day 61, Israel striked whilst Trump was making them feel comfortable. Is Trump's behavior now? Because I know that there was a period there where there were people questioning Trump's loyalty and support for Israel. Has this now woken people up to what is really going on?
Israel that question Trump, the few of them, and there aren't many, but the few that question Trump are usually the ones that are anti-Bibi no matter what. And they'll try and find everything, not realizing that Bibi has an amazing relationship with Trump, that he's on board. Netanyahu said it openly yesterday on a few occasions to shut up all those left-wing media, pundits and some of the politicians who try to paint Netanyahu in a bad way. But they're finding it very difficult because ultimately he's been right. 30 years ago, he said that Iran was the big.
Oh, you're frozen. I think
we've lost him.
I think we've lost him. He's got the show. I actually just really wanted to ask him about what is actually happening on the ground. And we'll get back to that when he comes back on. Let's quickly.
It's interesting. So I don't know if the White House is broadcasting some press conference or not, but there are comments coming out all the time. I'm not. You can have a look at the White House.
Hold on. Let me pull it. Let me
just have a look at that. But he's making very direct and clear statements that he wants Iran to completely surrender.
Let's see.
And there is nothing on the table as of now.
Let's pull up, see if there is a press
Someone's asking if Australia is likely to get involved in this. So I'll just read some of the comments. People asking if Australia is likely to get involved in this. Well, I don't think so. I think a lot of people are running around saying, "Oh, we don't want to get, we're not going to get dragged into this." I'm not dying for Israel. All these kind of comments. I don't think no one's really asked for any of that kind of intervention or help.
What do you think What do you think Australia is going to do for Israel? Like, be serious. Stop listening to nutcases on the internet.
Yeah, Israel's kind of handled it pretty fine for the moment, and it looks like, if you looked at even yesterday or just when Trump made those comments in the morning, a lot of the American assets that were flown out the day before to bases around Europe and the Middle East, all of those assets activated, got closer in. Their alert levels have changed. And I don't think even, for anyone that's looking at this as some type of ground invasion into Iran, that's not on the cards whatsoever. I think they're really looking just to shut them down in terms of their ability to have any type of nuclear program, any type of weapons program. And I think a lot of that can be achieved just through bombing a lot of these sites. And in terms of regime change, I think the hope really is if you listen to Benjamin Netanyahu and he's kind of talks to the people, a lot of the hope around that is really just the people of Iran themselves take the lead on that. And I think it's more down that line. Not, I don't think it's comparable to like Iraq and all these things that people are comparing to. It's something totally, totally different.
I don't see a press conference, so if you find one, send it to me. I'll bring it up. So, Daniel, just because you're in Israel, we're obviously a while away down under. How has it actually been to be there? You're around the Jerusalem area. How has it been on the ground? I hear from family, it's these rockets are nothing to laugh at.
No, unfortunately, ballistic missiles, as we've even seen, can actually break through even the safe rooms if it lands close enough to a safe room. In general, that obviously has hardly ever happened. Because I'm in the Jerusalem area, in some ways we're a little bit better off than the Tel Aviv area because they're aiming for massive populations with the indiscriminate bombing of population centers. And they know that there's the Temple Mount, there's Arab neighborhoods in Jerusalem, so they're keeping a little bit away maybe from Jerusalem as opposed to Tel Aviv, Holon, Bat Yam, Bnei Brak, and Haifa, where they know they can hit Jews left, right, and center. But it's frightening, it's scary, and it's one of the things we have to deal with. Unfortunately, the Iron Dome or the Heavenly Dome, whichever dome you want to use, is not hermetic, and there's going to be some missiles that are getting through. Ballistic missiles are crazy, which is why missiles going after the missiles, the production of them, and not just the nuclear sites. It's a lot more damage way beyond the sites themselves to not give them the ability to even have any missiles coming towards Israel. But, without a regime change, there's not going to really be anything that's going to be close to great unless that happens. With the same regime there that is death to Israel, death to the Satan, death to America, that has to change. It's not going to change by blowing up, different nuclear sites, and it's beyond that.
Daniel, we'll let you go because your connection's a bit hard. It's going in and out. Really appreciate you tuning in today. I'll do a long form interview with you. I know our viewers, you've got so much to say, and you're one of the most interesting people in Israel that I like to see every time I go there. Really appreciate it. Where can people follow you if they want to follow your work?
Ateret Kohanim. Ateret Kohanim.
Spell it out for the viewers, because I think most of our viewers probably can't spell that.
I see. Ateret, second word Cohanim. Kohanim. Ateret Kohanim.
Is that on social
organization,
media? Are you guys on social media? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Daniel, take care, stay safe, and hopefully next time I see you in Israel, there will be no longer that threat from neither Iran, Yemen. I'm hoping to book a holiday back to my grandparents' village in Yemen, and then to see some of my family's homes in Iran. And, hopefully we can one day go to even
It's all,
Lebanon. We can go to all these
it's all
places.
possible. It's all possible. I'm not sure about Yemen straight away. That's a longer term process.
I
In
know
the
that
meantime,
those
we
Yemenis
have
are
the
a
Yemenite
stubborn
village in
bunch.
Shiloh. We have the Yemenite village in Shiloh in Jerusalem in the meantime. How's that?
It sounds like a plan. All right, mate. Take care. Stay safe.
All the best. Amen.
Thanks, mate. I was going to say, I've just been reading comments, Avi, while you're doing that, and
Yep.
someone just said, "Oh, Australia was in, Iraq and Afghanistan." Again, I think this is completely different.
Completely different.
Iraq, Afghanistan, the war on terror was about this international coalition going up against this kind of, new enemy of terrorists that were targeting the entire world. And yes, Iran itself is a state sponsor of terrorism, but a lot of the destruction that Iran has caused and the trouble they've caused is in the region of the Middle East. And a lot of this conflict is between Israel in that region as well. And Israel has taken the lead. So I think they're looking for support. And they're primarily looking, if they want anyone's support of the USA. They're not going to refuse any other country that wants to join up and support them. But they're primarily looking for the support of the USA.
But I think also it's important to remember nobody's talking about boots on the ground. Nobody wants boots on the ground.
Nobody wants boots on the ground. Nobody wants Australia. If they want anything from Australia, it's like the implicit support of the moral support of you doing the right thing or whatever. No one's asking for Australian troops in this instance because there's no idea of even sending in Israeli troops into Iran. So I think a lot of this kind of commentary around, not my war and all this kind of stuff, I don't think anyone's trying to make it, the world's war in that way. It is a US conflict because the US has always been heavily involved in that region. These nuclear talks, the country that really wants to stop them from having nuclear weapons, the US has been instrumental in not allowing, they're a part of not allowing these type of countries to have it. So, of course, they're going to be involved in this conflict in one way or another.
Yep. And look, I think people that are looking at it from the Iraq, Afghanistan lens are looking at it wrong. There are a lot of differences. This is also not off the back of 9/11. And this is not a boot on the ground operation. There's also the difference here is you have they estimate 70 to 80% of the country support the old regime. So don't want to live under an Islamist, fundamentalist regime. They're super educated. That's another point of difference. The Iranian people, the Persians, are a super educated, smart people that want to live freely and don't subscribe to the authoritarian Islamist thing. They want to bring it back to what it was. They have the prince who lives in America, who is ready to take back the kingdom, and I think that's going to be great for the entire world. But I agree with you. Nobody, who wants boots on the ground? Nobody wants a repeat of Iraq. That was the worst failure, and.
Iraq, Afghanistan were initially successes. It's just they got bogged down in those countries. So it's a long drawn out wars. Americans, all these Western countries don't do well because it becomes about popularity in terms of elections and all these kind of issues. It's not a matter of Americans not being able to win a war if they wanted to by using all types of force and weapons and all these kind of things. But, they try to do it in a certain way. By bringing, democracy and all these kind of ideas and stuff. And it's a long drawn out process that doesn't always work out. In this instance, I don't think anyone's thinking about, bringing these things to Iran because there is that history of the revolution. The fact that at that time, Avi, a lot of people supported that, what happened in Iran during that time. But I think over time, people have obviously grown weary and tired of the regime. And there has been instances throughout Iran's history where people have tried to rise up. But a lot of the time, the West has, paid lip service to the regime and, kind of helped them get back on their feet. Of course, countries like China and Russia have been very instrumental in helping the Iranian regime. But even today, when you look at Iran, China and Russia, they have their own problems. Russia is bogged down in the Ukraine. I think Iran is far from their mind. They're already getting all their people out of the country. China, I think they want to be a global player. As many problems as they have with, America and all this kind of stuff in terms of tariffs and all this kind of nonsense, they're a part of the global world. They don't want to jeopardize that. And is it worth jeopardizing all of that for Iran when it could be just a regime change that the people really actually want? So all these things are at play. You can't really treat it like this world war scenario anymore because, like I said before,
It's not a
we've
world war.
seen
This is
what
not going to be a world war.
we've seen what the Iranians are capable of, and it's not much. On the ground, yes, troops on the ground in Iran against that massive army they have would be a bloodbath. I think everyone knows you wouldn't want to do that. But if you isolate them and you bomb them and you create the conditions to
Destabilize them and
eliminate
let the people rise up.
whatever, yeah, exactly.
Okay, there's actually a couple of super chats that talk to that point. Let's quickly hit them up and move on.
It's from Wayne. Obama Biden policies are to blame. I mean, the money that they got back through Obama,
100%.
The pallets of billions of dollars that they shipped back to them, obviously helped them fund all types of terror in that region. And yes, we are still paying the price for that with this nonsense that's happening. Brandon says, death to Iran.
I think it's important to note, not Iran. It is the Islamist regime of Iran. I think the people of Iran are great people. I know a lot of Iranians here, both, secular Muslims. It's the problem is it's the Islamists. You got Iran is made up. When you talk to you can often differentiate between them when that depends how they identify. Like as Persians, when Persians are a rich, old nation with thousands of years of history, and they're beautiful, smart, good people. So the war is not with them. The war is with the Islamist ideology that actually is a colonizer and has colonized a bunch of the Middle East. Look at what they did in Lebanon. Look at what they did in Syria. Look at what they did, tried to do in Israel. These are, the evil in our society of today. And if we can get rid of them in a way that empowers the people, the good people of Iran to rise up, as they would say, inshallah. Like this
Chambers
comment.
Of what? Lol, cheers, respect. Long live Persia.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's what I was saying to you. When people call themselves Persian, they're generally anti the Islamist regime of Iran.
From Alan, thanks for the super chat. Israeli PM Ben said he wasn't protecting Trump from being killed by Iran. What's that about?
Israel
so
PM
I think,
says, there was apparently
is the threats on life on Trump by the Iranians during the lead up to the election. They wanted to take him out. Maybe this is why they wanted to take out Trump and have Kamala win instead. Because Trump's particular stance against Iran and wanting to scrap the deals.
At the time, this Trump campaign, I think the who was it at the time? Was it not the FBI? Was it the FBI that came out and said that at least one of them they believed was organized by Iran?
Links.
There was some sort of links. Look,
yeah.
Of course, it's in Israel's interest to tie it to the Trump administration. Clearly, there is something to it. Trump isn't denying any of this stuff. He's agreeing with it. What is absolutely true, we'll never know, because that is a kind of information that only the top people in both America and Israel will know. Unless they ever release files or the evidence of any of this stuff, I think it's clear that Iran hates all of us in the West, and that's based off their own words. It's based off their own rallies. It's based off their own ideology. That's the thing here. It's not like you don't need Bibi Netanyahu to tell you that he hates you. And so, of course, yes, it is in Bibi's interest, in Israel's interest, to let Americans, especially MAGA Americans, know, guys, they tried to target, they wanted to kill your guy. And possibly, like a lot of those people will make the counter argument, well, they wanted to target him because they were just scared about this. They were scared that he was going to do everything he campaigned on, and that is defend their closest ally in the Middle East.
Yeah,
defend him at all costs. So, and that's probably what they were scared about. And Kamala would have been much better for Iran, absolutely, just like Obama was.
Yeah, I mean, in their parliament, you know, just think about this. There's a parliament in that country where they chant death to America, death to England, you know, death to the UK, whatever, pretty much death to the West. America is the big Satan. Israel is the little Satan. And this is kind of, it's from the leadership down. So what kind of society does that create in terms of, you know, the leadership structures in that society, the power structures? They're all hell bent on destroying the West, America, and of course, Israel is their main target in the region. But they hate all of us. Like, they are very clear about it. And this kind of weird game that people play with words and what they really mean, and they don't really mean it in that way. It's just so sick to hear people in the West talking like this when there's actually people directly threatening your way of life in their parliament, burning your flag in the parliament house, whatever, in Iran, and doing all these things. And to turn around and be like, oh, well, you know, we don't need to worry about, of course you need to worry about these type of deranged individuals. And I think Trump is not, he's not in the business of appeasing these type of terrorist regimes and tyrants, especially if he's got the upper hand. And I think that's why you're seeing this strong messaging from him saying, I will not accept anything but Iran's complete surrender. So maybe he's hoping they still come and negotiate with him and really give him the terms that he wants. Or maybe he actually really means it. He does not care about anything else but them completely surrendering. And if that means the US has to drop a few bombs on some of their nuclear facilities, he might even end up doing that. I mean, I think he's just sick of the whole thing.
Look,
And
I do hope. Look, I think the most important thing, my end goal would be, the thing that I want most in this situation, is for the regime to fall and for the Iranian people to rise up and take it back, and go back to how life was prior to the Islamic Revolution. How we get there, I would prefer if Israel manages to do it alone. When I say alone, as in without military intervention at all from America, because I want to be able to stand at the end of it and go, every single one of you were wrong, and not only were you wrong that Israel couldn't do it themselves, you were wrong that Israel just wanted to drag America into it. But the next best option is America getting involved on that level of helping with some of the bombing raids, campaigns, whatever it is. Of course, I don't want to see any boots on the ground. I don't want to see any boots on the ground in Iran. Besides for obviously what there is from Israel at the moment. We know that Mossad is operating heavily in Iran on the ground. So they have boots, some sort of boots on the ground, to quite an extensive level when it comes to intelligence agencies. We know that they built a drone base inside of Iran that they've been operating now for years. Did you know that? Did you hear about that?
yeah,
It's like,
I mean, that's what I mean. It's something you see in a movie. So
there are going to be
the people that are discounting what I think, you know, I get a lot of the hate. I understand the hate against Israel and all these kind of views that people have, and it's very kind of polarizing for people, and they have views about Palestine and Gaza. But if you just look at the army and, you know, Mossad or whatever, whoever's operating within the enemy territory, building our drone factories, the type of planning and intelligence required to do that, and then to successfully launch those operations and kill generals in that country, it is like next level things. It's stuff you see in movies like Mission Impossible or something like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the other countries aren't doing things like this, like the Americans and the Russians. We've seen similar operations, but the level of sophistication in these operations is next level. And I think the Iranians are completely being bamboozled. They're pulling over trucks on highways. They're trying to find out where these drones are coming from. You know, they're hanging ex-Mossad agents that they've had in their jails as retaliation. So they've been completely bamboozled, again, completely embarrassed. It is a textbook definition of like a successful operation, at least for the first couple of days. If you want to surprise your enemy and take a preemptive strike, I can't think of a more successful type of operation between land, in terms of on the boots on ground intelligence officers, plus the military strikes at the same time. I mean, it is quite remarkable. And I think that story is yet to be fully told once we know all the details of it, like the Bieber thing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not celebrating war and all these kind of things. I'm just saying, for someone who's looking at it from a strategic military type victory, it's very impressive. It's just the truth.
You know what? This is October 7. On October 7, Israel lost a lot of the kind of respect that they had gained over the many years of sophisticated warfare, especially when it came to intelligence. It was a massive intelligence failure, and I think the entire Arab world, but the whole world, and many of their enemies suddenly thought Israel was weak. What they, I think, miscalculated there is that they were weak in Gaza because they didn't take the threat of Hamas seriously. They just thought they were a bunch of, cave-dwelling, tunnel digging, backwards Houthis. They thought of them as like cavemen. And that was Israel's massive intelligence failure there. I know a lot of people make the argument, well, if the Mossad can do that in Lebanon, they can do that in Iran. Why couldn't they do that in Gaza? I saw that on Piers Morgan, that whole debate that clown had with the foreign not the foreign minister. I can't remember what he was. Danny Danon. But it's like Mossad doesn't operate in Gaza. Mossad operates outside of Israel and outside of Israel and the territory. So Israel proper and the territory. So that includes Gaza. But it was a massive military failure, and I think the beeper thing brought back a bit of that, or a lot of that, kavod, the respect that the Israeli intelligence agencies had, but now it's solidified that. It showed the entire world, but especially their foes, that you can't mess with them. So in Gaza, they're showing them they can't mess with them by just going hard, and it's also completely different the operational ground in which they're working. You got to remember, Gaza Strip is a highly densely populated area where there are terrorists literally digging tunnels under everything. So whether it's homes, hospitals, any place, so any public place, there are tunnels under everything because it is such a small place. So everything is underneath where all the civilians are. Whereas at least in Iran, the military installations, it's such a big land, the nuclear installations, all that, the oil field, everything is spread out, and Israel can target it. And then when it comes to the officials, well, that's the intelligence of it. They're not hiding it in they haven't been hiding in bunkers underneath, big, tall residential buildings. They're at their house, and Israel's just hit them all at the same time.
Yeah. And I think they've been lulled into a sense of confident, they were pretty confident. Security, they were pretty confident in they're dealing with the US, they're negotiating, nothing to, like this kind of whole thing that's happening in the background. So that all
they
played
thought
into
Israel
it.
was really going to strike first.
Well. But with the whole Iran thing as well, what people have to realize is, let's say something does happen with Iran here, and whatever, they capitulate, they lose, whatever, right? That has a flow-on impact, doesn't it, Avi, on Hezbollah, on what's happening in Gaza right now, what's happening with the Houthis in Yemen.
It's already had a flow-on effect. If you look at Hezbollah has not joined the fray. How has Hezbollah not joined in? The Houthis have fired one or two ballistic missiles, like nothing in this period.
Well, they fired when it hit Palestine. It hit like an area in the West Bank.
Is that the one that killed the Arab family? There's one that killed a whole Arab family. But they're deflated. You could, their morale would be through the ground. Hezbollah hasn't fired anything. Hezbollah has not joined in this fight at all, and Hezbollah is 100% funded and controlled by Iran. They are Iran's proxies. They were their foot soldiers at Israel's door. They were the one that promised they were going to wipe Israel off the map. Nasrallah for years was threatening that. It was exact same language as Iran, but it was a way for Iran to avoid any fireback. Nobody believed that they were going to decapitate that force. Yeah. But even now, if you think about the fact that they're getting ballistic missiles, why are we not seeing at the same time, hundreds of missiles flying from Lebanon? When we saw that happening on October 7th, so I think it was October 8th, they started firing the missiles from Lebanon already, and they were firing them for months on end. Now we haven't seen anything from Lebanon because they know they're done. They are done. Okay, let's quickly smash through some of these super chats so we can go on to the other things we've got lined up.
This is from Tom. Thanks, mate. Is there truth to that Tucker bought by the Qatari?
We'll get into the whole Tucker debate in a minute.
Get into the whole thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the super chat, but we're about to get into it, so I'm not skipping over it, but that's lined up coming up. So good question.
From Pete, thanks, mate. Yeah, free the hot Persian chicks.
I think he was talking about when I said they were wearing mini skirts before the revolution. They are a very decent-looking population. Are we allowed to say that, or is that offensive to the Sri
I think
Lankans?
it's okay to say.
Thank you, Jimmy, for the super chat. No comment, but really appreciate your support. Thank you for all the super chats, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, you got to read this one, Rukshan.
This one says Rukshan Fernando for PM.
Brandis Lewis Long, who I feel like just copied this into
Translate.
Yeah, do you reckon that's what they did? בדרך אחד יצאנו ושווה דרכים. I'm not great at reading Hebrew, to be fair. Let me pull it up. Let me actually. I know in one way we came out at Baderech Echad. In one way we went out. Let me look it up. Now I'm getting in trouble because I can't read Hebrew properly. I can barely speak
look it up.
I'm going to look up what that comment is.
Look it up. I'll see what people are saying. I'll see what.
Is somebody translating it for me and mocking my Hebrew?
No. I'm just seeing what the comments are.
Let's pull this up a second. Boom. These people are going to throw us with the...
Australia.
Is there a way to find just the super chats on this thing? I don't know.
On the side, there's.
Is there one that says just super chats? Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go.
No, we just need to get Brandon to do another super chat with the English translation.
For the English translation, it says... yes, wasting our time. בדרך אחד יצאנו, we went out in one way, ושווה... in a number of ways, I don't know, Brendan, you're gonna have to give us a translation on that. Sorry, my Hebrew sucks. I can't read. Oh, I've just brought it back on to embarrass myself further. Next one.
This is from eFamily. How do you think Trump will use the attack on Iran as leverage to work on Russia and China negotiations? That's interesting. I think, look, the whole... Go for it, Avi.
No, I think that this is a deterrence. Like this, knocking Iran out is from the axis of evil. That you look at that alliance at Russia, and they're all in it for themselves. So like Putin he cares about Putin. So like he would only get involved in a war with Iran if it was not. In this case, I guarantee you now how things are looking. There's no way Russia's coming into this, right? He didn't defend Syria when anything was happening there, and he had actual bases there. There is nothing he's doing here. If it wasn't looking the way it looked now, and this could have been like a Cold War scenario, maybe that would have been a situation where Russia and China in a Cold War kind of way would have joined in. They're not joining in. I think this is great for America, and especially if Israel does it on its own, just with American support and moral support from their allies, including Australia, which is supposed to be an ally, but hasn't been acting as such since the Albanese return. And it's a deterrence to them, to Russia, to China, to North Korea, to go, mate, one of your best mates just got knocked out so easily, and these are our friends. Like it's just like about having strong friends. I think it is a massive deterrent.
I think just America's posturing and their position within the world as a superpower obviously elevates if this, Iran thing goes a certain way and they're defeated or knocked out, or, America has a victory here in terms of getting what they want with Iran in this manner. I think it really puts everyone else on notice. You're also seeing Trump, which we'll talk about later at the G7, when he talks about Putin and Xi, he's got the measure of those individuals. Whatever you think of those relationships, there is somewhat of a mutual respect between those leaders for Trump. And I think they know Trump is not kidding around. So this further just reinforces Trump. And, his relationship with Putin, especially that he touched on at the G7, and he kind of belittled the other world leaders for not being able to have that type of relationship.
We'll watch that in a minute, yeah.
We'll watch that in a minute. So I think all those things come into play. We're not living in a time where Putin or Xi will try to go behind Trump's back and, we're going to jump in and send warplanes to Iran and things like this. I don't think this is how it works, because they also need to negotiate with Trump on other matters. They need to have Trump on their side in a way. I know people might not like hearing me say that, but they need kind of Trump on their side when it comes to negotiating whatever peace that happens in the Ukraine between Russia. And, when it comes to China, trade is a massive bit of leverage that Trump has over the Chinese. Even though they try to pretend that it doesn't matter, he's using that very effectively. So I think Trump is the man for this type of what's happening right now. If it was any other president, they might have gotten bamboozled themselves and really left Israel out to dry, or, hung them out to dry, or whatever. But I think Trump is the perfect president.
Yeah, they would have hung him out to dry. And Israel would have had a tough decision if it got to a point where Israel actually believed the nuclear, that they were close to obtaining a nuclear weapon. Israel would have had to make a decision whether to just go against any American administration or just do it unilaterally, just go for it and deal with the consequences after, against an American president's wishes. In this case, I think he is the man, and he is stepping up to the challenge of the time, even when so many loud voices in his camp are trying to deter him. But he knows do not bet against Trump on this stuff. Do not bet against Trump, and he's gonna come out. And you can see, all the world leaders, and you see, we're gonna get into the G7 in a minute. You see, they're not betting against him either. They're all sucking up to him, even when he's mocking them to their faces.
Yeah, I mean, they look like little schoolboys next to him, to be completely honest. And you are talking about countries like France and the UK going back, 50, 60 years, were the preeminent world leaders when it came to these type of complex issues in the world. They would take the stage. Now, Trump's gone there. And I don't know, again, jumping ahead of Harvey, but it's quite interesting. Maybe we just jump to the G7 stuff. I don't know what you got lined up.
That's the next thing. Let's just get rid of finish these super chats, and we'll jump to the G7.
Cruel Intention says, did you see AOC had a cry over US rearming the Iron Dome, voting Congress? Western liberals are demented. Oz Labour too. Yes, she was at an event recently, yelling Free Palestine and obviously admonishing the Israelis for what they're doing at the moment.
Mate,
as well.
But it's the wokies that are most triggered by it. It's the woke left, the woke right. They are triggered by any support of what they'll call Zionists or Jews or Israel, whatever. And they're upset for very similar reasons. They just articulate it slightly different. And it's funny to watch. And it's funny to watch, especially because Israel is clearly going to come out of this victorious with Trump by their side, and Trump is going to take all the credit, and he deserves all the credit he's going to take for this, and all the naysayers are going to be silenced. Baz is back with another one. Thank you, Baz.
Free the miniskirt, make Persia hot again.
Listen, I better remove this off my screen because I don't want to be implicated by my upcoming holiday to Iran. There we go.
This is from Tides in Agora. Thanks for the super chat. First, Eski Ice, go to Palestine, you clown. Second, keep up the good work, Avi. Mad respect for you and your communication skills. Hoping for a peaceful end. I think he's having a go at someone in the chat first.
Somebody probably in the chats. Yes, I'm with you, Eski Ike. Go to Palestine, you clown. I'm assuming. I'm totally backing this because of the kind words you had to say to me. No, I really appreciate your support. Appreciate your super chat as well. All the super chats, guys. It's part of what helps allow our channel, help fund our channel. So really, but also just sharing it. So we've got over 10,000 tonight already.
I've got a breaking tweet from the Israeli Defense Minister as well.
Yep.
Who warns that Khamenei could face a similar fate to Iraqi Saddam Hussein. Remember what happened to the dictator in the neighboring country of Iran who took this path against Israel. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
It's interesting because that's what also those Israel haters love to point to, because back in it was probably, was it the 90s, where a young Bibi was warning about Iraq and and they say, see, they've already been here before. It's the same thing. He's just repeating. He wants us to fight his wars. And I can see how somebody who doesn't actually understand anything of the history would look at that and go, oh yeah, this does look similar. What you don't know is at the time, well, if you look into it, at the time Israel was actually warning against the planned invasion of Iraq. But Israel has been warning about Iran for a long time, and I think that, like one of the super chats we had before, I think the Obama administration was a big part in kind of boosting and bolstering the Iranian regime, the Islamist regime in Iran, to where we've gotten now, and it has been failures by successive US administrations, the Biden administration. Like, if Trump still had it from 2016, he was bankrupting them. They couldn't afford to do anything.
Yeah.
All right. One last super chat. Kate.
This is from Kate. Why do you think DJT left the G7? I see respondents SecDef was going to Situation Room 2. Yes. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. They're all going to the Situation Room. Yeah, I believe that's
what we're getting into now. So let's go watch that video. Thank you, Kate, for the. We're going to answer your question in watching the videos and unpack it a little bit there. Thank you, firstly, to everyone again who has super chatted. You can throw your super chats on mine and Rukshan's YouTube pages, and we will get to all of them throughout the show. But let's go and look at exactly that. Let's look at G7 today in Canada.
The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8. And now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot. I look forward to that.
So that's not him walking out yet. That's the next story. But interesting.
That was an interesting comment for sure.
Very interesting. And the way they just, Mark Carney there just takes it, and it's an attack on his predecessor, his ally, his friend, Justin Trudeau, over kicking Russia out, which is not the Israel-Iran conflict, but it's the same idea. It's failed policy, stupidity in diplomacy that cause and effect, and I think that's true. I think that they.
Well, I think he's just saying that Trump is saying he would do diplomacy in a different way. So people who are concerned about his relationship with Putin and all these kind of things, I think he's just saying very openly there, my approach is different. Like, these guys all around me, they're facing these troubles today, but they don't want Putin at the table in terms of being able to be a part of that discussion, this kind of world that we live in. Whereas Trump is more amicable to even people that he doesn't like personally, their views and the things that they're doing. He disagrees with. Like, you've seen him try to talk to Kim Jong-un and all these kind of things. He is willing to have discussions with them and have them at the table when the time suits. And that's why, again, I think we don't need to worry about this World War III scenario that people keep throwing out there. Trump really does have the measure of Putin and Xi as far as it pertains to wider global conflicts. Maybe not being able to solve, the Ukraine issue like he said he would straight away. He struggled with that. I give people the criticism that they give Trump around that issue because he did talk a big game around being able to solve that issue, and he's found it very difficult with both Zelensky and Putin to come to a compromise. So, he's not always going to get his way when it comes to those conflicts that involve those particular countries. But as far as it includes them becoming a problem for the rest of us and, being involved in these kind of, issues in Iran and things like this, I think he's got the measure of them. That's my personal opinion. And, that's why it's good that Trump is in the room as a leader, because if it was Biden in that room right now and all these things were going down, it'll be the other guys. It'll be Macron. It'll be like Keir Starmer, Mark Carney, and whoever else is in there. They would be the people that are calling the shots right now on what's happening in the world. And we have seen how disastrous that can be during the time of Biden.
There's a super chat for you, Rukshan.
This is from Borinican, the first tribe of England. Gold's up, you get a share. Thanks, mate.
$50, that's pretty generous.
Thanks, mate. Gold's gone up, I'm glad.
That is very generous. Well done. Thank you for all the support, guys, in the super chats. And if your gold has gone up, $50 will do.
100%.
Well done.
Thanks,
okay.
mate. I appreciate it.
So speaking of the G7, this was to the super chat somebody gave before. Well, let's just get into this story.
The man everyone was waiting for.
It's beautiful, I know.
Donald Trump arriving in Canada with the Middle East in chaos and a string of world leaders hoping for his ear.
I think we all recognize that turning point where the world looks to this table for leadership.
But President Trump was swiftly turning around, flying back to Washington, D.C. barely 24 hours after touching down. A White House spokeswoman saying President Trump had a great day at the G7, but because of what's going on in the Middle East, he'll be leaving tonight after dinner with heads of state. Moments before the news broke, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was none the wiser.
I've engaged as much as possible because I think that I have a great responsibility. I take that responsibility seriously, and I look forward to tomorrow's meeting.
The Prime Minister had been planning to raise the AUKUS submarine pact and tariffs while managing expectations about any outcome.
I don't think it would be reasonable to expect that you would have a complete change and a complete resolution.
Any resolution now is even further away. There's no sugarcoating it. This is a lost opportunity for the Prime Minister. While this turn of events is outside of his control, it's now been 7 months since the President was elected and still no face-to-face meeting.
This is essentially the American president needing to deal with what is obviously playing out in the world today. We shouldn't be reading more into it than that.
It should not be left for Australia to just seek meetings as important as this on the sidelines of an international summit.
This is sorry about that.
Despite the disappointment, the Prime Minister's drawing hope from this exchange with President Trump and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer on AUKUS.
Yep, we're proceeding with that. It's a really important deal to both of us.
We're very long-time partners and allies and friends, and we've become friends in a short period of time.
It was very positive, and I've seen the comments that were made.
The Prime Minister treading carefully through tricky terrain. Jane Norman, ABC News.
What was that B-roll? Did you see
What
that
was the B-roll? I just missed it.
Look at this B-roll. This is the ABC having a go at our beloved Prime Minister.
And I have seen the comments that were made.
The Prime Minister treading carefully through tricky terrain.
Like
Jane Norman, ABC News.
Because they're in Canada? Is that what that's supposed to...
Yeah, they're in Canada, that's right.
But
well,
why
this is the thing, right? So if I touch on Australia, Ravi, like, I don't think Australia is even in the G7. So obviously Albo's gone there, especially on the sidelines, to try to get this meeting with Trump.
Yeah.
While Trump's kind of forced to go to the G7, it's something that he's got an obligation to attend, I guess. So he's going to be there definitely. And Albo's trying to kind of, It's almost trying to meet a girl at some other party that you weren't invited to, right? That's what Albo is doing. And he set up the date and everything, and he's tried his best. And then now something's come up, obviously, and Trump's gone, and Albo's left there waiting all alone. And it's hilarious in a way, but it does show you Australia's standing with the US, I think, is very low. That Trump would attend a dinner and then just leave. He did it. I don't even know if he made an attempt to actually talk to Albanese. We didn't hear anything like that. It must.
Yeah, Albo thought the meeting was on. 5 minutes before he announced he's out, Albo, and the idea that Trump didn't have time to spend a few minutes with him, maybe, who knows what was going on, but he's had plenty of time to tweet back and forth. But you make a good point. It's not like, why doesn't Albo just go to Washington to meet him? Why does he keep going to these parties he's not invited to?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if they've tried it, and it's not really lined up with the Trump administration for that to happen. I don't know how hard they've made it. I'm guessing they've made suggestions to visit Donald Trump, and it just hasn't lined up, I'm guessing. Super chat from Cruel. I would pay good money to read the profile report Trump was given on Albo. 100%. I mean, can you imagine them? They would have gone to Trump and be like, "All right, sir, you can no longer meet the Australian Prime Minister Albanese, whatever." He'd be like, "Who? What? I don't care. Just tell him I'll, whatever." It would have been like.
You remember he said he likes Albo. He likes Albo.
Again, he's just talk. I think even there, he's just talking crap. He has no idea. He does not care. And
if Dutton would have won, he would have gone. He would have said the same thing. He would have gone, "Oh, Dutton's a great guy. Well done."
But I think Dutton would have had more luck in organising a trip to Washington to meet the president. Is my speculation on that. But on that G7, so do you have the clip of Trump leaving G7?
Was that not in there?
It was not in there. Well, I think he made some comments when he was leaving, and he said that he's got to head back. He's got some important things to take care of. And then Emmanuel Macron jumped in later on to the press and said, find the tweet that Trump made about Emmanuel Macron. We'll read that tweet out. It's pretty funny. Because Macron jumped in later on to the press and said, Trump went to negotiate to make a peace deal or something, which Trump took great offense to, because I don't think that's what he was doing whatsoever when he left. So as someone asked before, Trump was heading back to the Washington to go to the Situation Room with the defense minister and a few other people, I'm guessing, again, on what they're planning to do in Iran.
Was it a tweet or a...
It was a tweet. Just type in Trump, Emmanuel Macron. Trump, Macron. It was a Truth Social post.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Media, let's see.
You type in Trump, Macron, it's the first one that comes out. I can read it. You got it?
Yeah.
And all of this, Avi would have put in the context of he was just like, with these guys being very kind of cordial and stuff. And now he's left. And he's written, publicity-seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France. So he's giving him a name at the start. Mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to DC to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong. He has no idea why I'm now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with ceasefire. Much bigger than that. Whether purposely or not, Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. So, I mean, and now we've heard Trump's comments recently where he said he wants nothing short of a surrender from Iran. So whatever they're planning in the Situation Room, it has to be something big, because it can't be just them planning a meeting with Iran. Like, you wouldn't go to the Situation Room for that. So they're working on something. There's going to be something in the next 24, 48 hours, even less. That's going to happen there.
There's something going on. And the fact that he left in a hurry like that, I think is beyond his trolling.
That's also a power play, right? So he's literally telling the G7 people, like, I am the de facto...
I'm doing something more important than you now.
I'm the de facto leader of the world. All of you guys are nothing compared to what I'm doing right now. See you later. Have your little meeting. I'm heading back to do some real work. Talk about whatever climate change and other nonsense you want to talk about here. I got real issues to solve.
Hobby Laz G. I don't know if you're trolling or not. I don't think you are. I don't know. Maybe you are. I don't know. But appreciate the super chat, but I think it might get us banned from the channel, so I'm not going to put it up. But appreciate the super chat. Bitcoin is king, and then saying something about Islam, but I don't think I put it up. But I appreciate the chat. Here's another super chat.
This is from Andy. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Trump doesn't want to meet with a weak and woke prime minister named Albanese.
I think he just can't be bothered. I reckon he's way more keen in being, in the action, making real changes. What's he going to get out of a meeting with Albanese?
Yeah, and I think the stuff that Australia, the stuff that Australia is worried about is not. I don't think it's like a big deal. I think it's something that they can just sort out in the back channels.
Yeah.
But obviously in Australia, they're making a big deal of it. And there's a lot of pressure on Albanese to meet Trump and show that he's an effective leader that Trump respects and all these, they're groveling before Trump pretty much. I don't think the actual issues, even though people make it into a big deal, you don't need a meeting between Trump and Albanese to fix those issues. I think in the back channels, between the relationship that Australia has historically with the United States of America,
you'd be able to.
Something like AUKUS, they can sort those things out. Whatever it is, the tariffs, they can sort out. It doesn't take a meeting between Trump and Albanese. It's all just theater. And Albanese just wants to kind of be the guy that, he met Trump. He can come out and be like, yeah, I met him. Now it's like a big deal for him because domestically, when Albanese comes back, obviously the Liberals are going to go after him. All the media is going to go after him. They're just going to keep talking about how Trump turned his back to him and how ineffective he is. So it's a problem for him, I think, and he'll be even more desperate now. So much more desperate to meet Trump now. It's just pathetic.
One more super chat.
This is from the. I need to know how to pronounce that. Bornision, First Tribes of England. You looked sad, mate.
Oh, I think it's talking to me because you got the 50.
I like this First Tribe of England. This should have been the predominant tribe of England that took England.
100%. Appreciate the super chat. You've made me happy inside and out. now Rukshan's sad. No, really appreciate all the super chats, guys. There's a bunch of Hebrew ones, which I think are like, because I'm actually pulling them up. I found a way to actually copy them, so I don't have to break my teeth trying to work out what they're actually saying. And I think they're all like sexual innuendo to me. So I've just got to. I don't want to even put it on the screen because it's like, Daddy, show us your juicy. Like this is like, no, I'm not.
Don't put out the Hebrew stuff, please.
No, I think the Hebrew stuff is all just people using Google Translate. All right, pretty funny. But keep up the super chats even if you want to. I get to see them, all right? If that's what you want.
Yeah.
But I'm not bringing them up on screen. All right, but real super chats, bring them up, and we will read all of them. Let's now. So obviously, this is one of the super chats we're talking about. Tucker Carlson made big news today. Trump first was asked about him because obviously Tucker has been essentially condemning Trump's handling of the Iran-Israel thing and just the foreign policy in general. It's been escalating over time. To be honest, anyone who kind of is paying real attention and understands nuance can see the road that Tucker has been going over several months. It's been surprising to me that Trump... I think that's what's been shocking to a lot of people is like why Trump hasn't distanced himself earlier. But today, I guess, was the final straw for Trump being, talked down to by somebody like Tucker Carlson, who, for many reasons, we'll get into that in a minute, is like the last person who should be talking about anyone's worldview, because his worldview has been particularly fluid, let's just say. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's watch what Trump said in response to Tucker today.
Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying...
1 second, let's turn it up a bit. I've got these new things where I can turn up the soft ones and...
Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky?
It's pretty.
I mean, he took a bit of a bit of a jab at him. I mean, it was a bit of a low blow from Trump, but that's not beyond him. We saw him with his relationship with Elon. He took a blow at Elon as well. So it's not beyond Trump to do that.
Attack Trump, he's going to come back at you like that. And then he came back with another one following up on Truth Social where he wrote, "Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon." When Trump starts giving you names, you're in a bit of trouble.
That's it, yeah. But kooky is the equivalent of the cooker in Australia, I guess. It's something similar to that. So
yeah,
it's pretty mean.
So, like, if you look at somebody like Tucker Carlson, that's what I was kind of hinting at a minute ago. If you look at the history of Tucker Carlson, if you look at Tucker Carlson talking about the exact same things he's talking about now, he used to mock people like himself. He started, I think, on some other local as a writer, but then he went on to CNN, CNBC, or whatever. I think it was CNBC. Then he moved on to, I think there might have been another left-wing station. Then he went on to Fox News. Then he started his own thing. And there's like this fluid kind of politics he's had. Are you going to argue that he just changed, he started off left-wing and just changed slowly. So the problem I have with that is like when somebody changes their perspective on so fundamentally and actually argues against themselves, because I think, let's look here, right?
Is there a video of that? Because I've seen a few compilations.
Yeah, so I want to see old Tucker. Let's see if I can find it quickly because I've seen good videos. Let's just see.
But it's true what you say. Like Tucker's someone that I immensely respected at a certain point. I think the best of Tucker was that kind of his late term at Fox, towards the end of Fox. Yes. And just when he started out his new thing, and I don't know what's happened in between that time for his relationship, especially with Trump, to sour at this point. Now people are saying, well, Tucker's telling the truth. He's just like saying it how it is and all this kind of stuff. But the problem there is, like you said, Avi, what you're talking about there is the inconsistencies in the way that he delivers these messages. He almost comes across as, I'll play the video.
Yeah, it's somebody that comes across like he's always speaking to garner an audience. He doesn't actually believe, even in the end of Fox, like remember what he got sued for, and like remember what came out in the legal fight that they had in court
with Dominion.
With Dominion and everything he was saying about Trump and how much he hated Trump, like the private messages that came out. It's like the guy has he's a performer, right? So he's always looking his audience captured, and especially now when he's out on his own and he's on. But look at old Tucker, right?
I mean, this is part of the sad thing about Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. And just to restate, I mean, Pat does raise issues that I think are important. I mean, I think that, the sovereignty of the American military, et cetera, I mean, these are not just crank issues. But unfortunately, Pat Buchanan raises them in a way that I think is discredited. And when attacked, he can always fall back on the line, well, the tiny cabal that controls American politics doesn't like me because I speak truth to power. This is actually, incidentally, almost verbatim what he said the other day, that I offend the plutocracy, that I'm a wanted man by the inside the Beltway people, and in every sense cast himself as a victim who is sort of a Karen Silkwood of politics, someone who's so truthful that he's being hunted down by the conspiracy that runs Washington. I mean, it's all a bit much. Maybe Pat Buchanan just says things that are kind of kooky, and that's why he's being criticized. It's perfectly valid to question America's relationship with Israel. Israel has a lobby. It's perfectly fair, as far as I'm concerned, to beat.
Hold on. How funny is that? I didn't even realize. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear how he described who was it, Pat Buchanan or whatever? But did you hear that where he used the word to describe him as kind of kooky? And that's what Trump knew. That's where here. Let's just do that again.
Conspiracy that runs Washington. I mean, it's all a bit much. Maybe Pat Buchanan just says things that are kind of kooky, and that's why he's being criticized. It's perfectly valid to question America's relationship with Israel. Israel has a lobby. It's perfectly fair, as far as I'm concerned, to beat up on Israel's lobby. But I don't think that's the reason that Buchanan is being labeled an anti-Semite. It's this kind of, as I've said, this relentless bringing up topics related to Judaism. I mean, famously, Pat, always beats up on Goldman Sachs, but never Morgan Stanley. I mean, it's really hard to. There is no point at which Pat Buchanan has held a press conference and said, I really don't like the Jews. I think they're a sinister force in America. But I think, and it took me years to come to this position. I mean, I'm not throwing the term anti-Semite around. But you reach a point when you say, well, gee, here's a guy who has gone out of his way to defend Demjanjuk and other accused Nazi war criminals, who's constantly attacked Israel, who's attacked American Jews for supporting Israel unduly, who's implied that American Jews push America into wars in which non-Jews die. There really is, and again, I'm not hysterical on this subject, but I do believe that there is a pattern with Pat Buchanan of needling the Jews. Is that anti-Semitic? Yeah. I mean, after a while, you conclude it is, in some sense, anti-Semitic. I mean, Pat Buchanan obviously has a lot of personal and affectionate relationships with people who are Jewish. So on a personal level, perhaps he's not, but on a different, maybe thematic level, I think he probably is. I think that people should be allowed to have differing views on immigration. I think people should be allowed to point out the fact that there is an Israeli lobby, and yes, it's powerful, and debate the merits of that, I guess. I don't think there's, strictly speaking, anything wrong with that. But again, I think Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence, because he gives people who watch him carefully the sense that he has another agenda that has to do with personal dislike, and that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people, should be having, because I think they're ludicrous.
So my point is, when you come from that, and you've thought out the issue, and you've come to this well thought out, informed position on it, which is the complete opposite, the exact thing you're describing. You're insincere. So are you insincere then? Are you insincere now? Or are you insincere at both points? Or did you go, this journey, the way I look at it with somebody like Tucker Carlson, is like, he was this guy that wore a bow tie and used to point out these obvious things. And it's that description of Pat Buchanan that he's making is exactly about him now. Like, he doesn't come out and say anti-Semitic stuff. It's very nuanced. It's the people that he brings on and the things that they're saying. And the kooky stuff and the kooky conspiracies, and always obsessing over the Jews, and obsessing over Israel, and obsessing over the Jewish lobby, and obsessing over, like, literally everything is. So if you've had such a well thought out position on it, so you've actually taken time to study it and think about it, and then you came to this position, and then you want to tell me that then you became the guy that you described. It almost feels to me like you realize that there was better money in it now to be the other guy, or the other. That's all it is. It's a show. He's a showman.
Look, I mean, that's a fairly old video. That's very old. That's very young.
Sure,
Tucker.
but that's why I say
there's even. But I know he's got a well articulated point of view on it. It's not like a difference of opinion on an issue. He's given articulation of an observation that he's made about human behavior and all these type of things. But you have even more recent clips of him having that as well. So I'm just referencing some of the comments here. People are saying that's a very old video, but you can find the same examples from a few years ago.
It doesn't matter how. Let's talk about, for example, COVID. Right? If somebody in the beginning of COVID was saying, like when COVID first hit, and we go, stay indoors. This is a scary virus. First couple of weeks, we have no idea. Put on a mask. It's not going to, we don't believe in government intervention, but guys, everybody take personal responsibility, which is what I did in the beginning. And a lot of people I know did. You did it. We all did it, right? And then as time passed and we realized, holy crap, we got it wrong, or the more evidence came. That's not what happened here. This is a guy who, I don't know how long ago that is, maybe 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, is straight up, he's analysed the whole situation, broken it down, pointed out the clear problem here, and then morphed into that and done the exact same thing. So, I don't think the amount of time matters. I know, so if there's I don't think we need to look at it. I'm sure that there are more recent ones, but I feel like that's an amazing, that's Tucker Carlson versus Tucker Carlson. And that's what, and it's funny that he used the word kooky his kooky ideas or whatever, which is exactly what Trump said about him.
Yeah.
Which has become...
And
yeah.
I was going to say, it's not everyone. So I know some people say, oh, well, everyone kind of goes through difference and changes his opinion. You know, Trump is someone who's been very consistent on his views on this part of the thing, right? So you can find many examples of
even
people
on
who are in positions of leadership.
Things like that.
Yeah, on media, he's always been very consistent and he's kept that same line. So clearly, something has happened at a certain point for people like Tucker and others to take this very hardline stance and dive headfirst, really, as the key figures in promoting some of these type of views. And there is a following for it as well. I mean, they still have massive followings, and even today,
it's huge. But that's I almost feel like that is the incentive today.
Well, I don't know. When you have these massive disagreements between him and President Trump, for instance, even people who are supporters of President Trump, you had what's her name, Marjorie Taylor, MGT, whatever, the congresswoman, who's also a here and there Trump supporter as well, and some people say a hardline Trump supporter, take Tucker's side almost in this instance. So, is that Tucker himself, or is there a whole heap of people who have kind of all banded together in going to this particular side for whatever reason that they see as being, the justifiable?
It was a grift then. It's a grift now. It's a show, and a lot of them do it. And when you're a media personality, you are a showman, and people need to remember that. Like when these issues don't really matter to the people, to the kind of the showman, to the presenter, then when they see that the wind is shifting, like Piers Morgan is another great example of that. The difference with Piers Morgan and let's say Tucker Carlson is Piers Morgan can make the shift within one day. Tucker Carlson, it's been like over a period of time, he's gone from, a completely a certain stat, and this is not even like left wing versus right wing, because now that line has kind of blurred on this particular issue. It's pointing an obvious human analysis of behavior and how somebody's acting and what they're doing, and the kind of what I find interesting in that is he's like pointing out these little tricks that the guy is doing when he's engaging in this conversation by not actually coming out and saying, I hate Jews, even saying it on a personal level, he has Jewish friends, but if you pay enough attention to his, focus on Israel, who he's interviewing, what he's talking about, how he's talking about it, you realize this guy is actually just an anti-Semite. Like that's the thing that he came to at the end of his personal analysis, which can just be applied to him. It's not even the thing is, it's not like his position. It's take his analysis, apply his analysis back at him. That's why I say it's Tucker versus Tucker. Even old Tucker versus new Tucker. It's just like apply his analysis about somebody who engages in the conversation surrounding Israel. Apply that old Tucker analysis at the new Tucker, and you realize I feel like he's looked at it and he goes, it's just more financially beneficial for me to be in this place, and it probably is now because like mainstream. If Tucker was just a mainstream commentator these days, then he may well have stayed on like mainstream TV, but now he's kind of being pushed out of that, and I feel like he kind of like he was already heading, I guess, in that conspiratorial direction through COVID, and that did. COVID, we've talked about that many times. COVID has done that to a lot of people, and for good reason. But then some people, I think, especially as commentators, just continue going with it. Now, is it because they genuinely are like, my whole worldview has completely changed, or have they been audience captured and gone, oh, I can see the market here, and there is a massive market in what Tucker, Candace. Speaking of Candace, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah. Let's go to Candace, because I think like Candace also is someone that I've been, a big supporter of and follower of. And obviously, I think she's done amazing things in terms of getting to where she is today. But this particular tweet, I read this in the morning when I woke up here, and it is perhaps one of the most stupidest things ever written by someone as a serious tweet. Like it is.
Candace,
I I wanted to retweet it and say this is probably one of the most stupidest things I've ever read or someone's written. I can't think of on Twitter. I mean, it's that stupid. I don't understand where she kind of finds the ideas to put something up like this, because it's just ridiculously.
But that's the thing. It's what is it? The woke mind virus. They say there's the Israeli derangement syndrome as well. Like it's a Jew derangement syndrome. Just like Tucker, but hers has been a little bit more blatant. Like she hasn't been as sophisticated as Tucker has been over this period. Like
No.
since this Trump administration, Trump hasn't touched Candace with a 10-foot pole through the campaign till now. Remember, there was a period. Like, she didn't even go to Turning Point. I remember the day she tried to, justify it or whatever. But she hasn't been about... There was a thing with Donald Trump Jr. she was going to do. That got cancelled, and she tried to, say, nah, everybody's acting like it. Dude, she used to be in the inner circle. She did the last administration, did one of the last interviews and people were mocking her at the time because she didn't even ask Trump the hard questions about COVID and the vaccine at the time when she was because she was like a fangirl. Now she's been pushed away because she hasn't been sophisticated about her hate. It's obvious to anyone with, more than a double-digit IQ that she hates Jews. She's obsessed with it. Whereas Tucker's been more sophisticated about it. So she said
this was retarded.
The levels of propaganda coming out of Israel is beyond parody. They are reporting that an Iranian wrote this letter begging them to bomb a news station. Curiously, the Iranian chose to write the letter in perfect English, not Farsi, not Arabic or Hebrew, but English. And this is the letter that was going viral. That, that's obviously an Iranian thing, because otherwise that would have been called out straight away. And all the Iranian accounts were saying it was legit. So Israel, please target Ali Khamenei and the Islamic... Oh, that's the state broadcaster. So is Khamenei, isn't that Khamenei? That's the boss. Anyways, but then they've done some hashtag in what looks like Farsi. That's not Arabic. You still there, or have we lost you?
No, I'm here. I'll come back. Can you hear me?
You've gone full black on us again. There you go. So I've seen a lot of the responses, especially from the Persian ex, just mocking her for the fact that you say, "What do you think? We can't speak people can't speak English." Also, they can't speak Hebrew.
Forget about that, Avi. If you are trying to make a point
to the world,
to the rest of the world as well, because obviously when you're trying to being an activist in Iran, for instance, and you're trying to get your message out to the world, and if you know English, well, it makes perfect sense to do it in English because most of the world can read and understand English themselves. I mean, come on. Of course it's going to be done in English. And this whole notion of I don't know how she views Iran. I know it's got its own problems and stuff, but like you said, it's a very highly educated, sophisticated society. Besides the regime and the oppression, it is a society that's high on education, and they're trying to build a nuclear weapon, for God's sakes. So you don't end up in a society like that without having people who are smart and able to read English and participate in the English language. It's just insane for someone first to just think that Persians or people in Iran can't speak English is crazy, for one. Now, I spend a lot of time listening to these kind of Persian activists and stuff. They find a way to get online, and they speak perfect English that's understandable like anyone else would. And I am not at least a bit surprised that they're writing in English. Why wouldn't a commentator in the West find this to be the one issue that they've written in English? It's just ridiculous. It's just so stupid and petty.
It's because of that Israel derangement syndrome. It is that obsession with Israel. You every post she finds, she's trying to the craziest shit over the last 2 years. She somehow tied it to Israel. And the most telling thing to me in the last week is that there was that horrific attack in Nigeria, where she says her biggest problem with Israel is the way that they treat Christians, even though Christians are safer in Israel than any Middle Eastern country. It's the only place in the Middle East where they've actually grown as a population since 1948. they're treated well. Yes, there are some bad eggs, but Christians are treated. My officer in the army was a Christian, so Christians have all the same rights as Jews in Israel. Now but she falsely accuses Israel of badly treating it. Christians. That's why she has this whole campaign against Jews or against Israel. But then when 200 Christians are butchered in Nigeria, she doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
So
Silence.
this also got, and then it's funny. It's like, so if they write it in Farsi, it's going to be just to Persians. They're trying to get it beyond Persians. Israelis don't read Persian, and the rest of the world certainly doesn't. Arabic, well, they're not Arabs. Why would they be writing in Arabic? They don't probably even know half. Most of them probably don't even speak Arabic. Why would they write in Arabic? Hebrew, they definitely don't speak Hebrew either in Iran.
I mean, you're having trouble reading Hebrew on the stream, and you're an Israeli.
Exactly.
Jewish.
Exactly. So English is the most sensible thing that anyone would write. And the giveaway that it's actually from them is firstly the handwriting. That's an adult that's written like that, which is kind of but also just the hashtag. Like, it's clearly an Iranian, and the street. Like, if it really wasn't genuinely from Iran, people would have said that.
It's definitely Iran. I think no one's questioning that.
No one's questioning that. And all the Iranian, all the Persian accounts.
Propaganda.
Anyways, but that's what
when I was listening to, because within the Persian diaspora, people who are obviously, there's I think 9 million people, Persians, Iranians, whatever, living outside of Iran. It's a big population, and a lot of them, when they talk about this issue, I mean, they take great offense at the state broadcaster there. They hold them as equally responsible for some of the horrific things that have happened in that country as the regime. You are talking about state-sponsored terrorism via the news service. I mean, they just literally, we complain about the ABC here, but these guys are literally broadcasting people getting executed.
Because
confessions.
The state broadcaster there is literally 100% controlled by the state. There's no separation. Like here, the ABC, to a degree, is our problem with the ABC is different. Like, I just don't think we should. I don't actually think that they're controlled directly by the state. I think that we shouldn't have to pay it as taxpayers because they are just left-wing activists, and I don't feel like I should have to pay for that. In Iran, the state broadcaster and any authoritarian regime, the state broadcaster works for the state, and if you have any other opinion on that, you say the wrong thing, the best that's going to happen is you get fired. The worst is jail or death.
Yeah, and so we did have yesterday that footage. I don't know if you can bring that up, but the bombing of the news station itself.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. There's a couple of super chats on Tucker side. I'll bring that up and we'll continue. I've got a bit more on this. Let's just read these ones.
Truth and love. Thanks to Super Chat. Free Persia, free Kurdistan, and free Israel, the future of the Middle East. I did see some Kurdistan individuals. I'm not sure if they were in Iran side or not, but they were protesting or at least supporting.
Kurds would be supportive of who? Kurds are supportive of Israel.
Supporting Israel, supporting the overthrow of the
well, if you understand regime. The Middle East, Kurds are people that have been fighting for self-determination as well. They're a minority that have been persecuted by many different Islamic groups they're Muslim themselves, but they're a minority. But yes, absolutely agree with that. I would love to see a Middle East with a Kurdistan and a free Kurdistan, a free Israel, and a free Persia. It'll be amazing to be able to travel to those places because they're so rich in culture. They've got amazing food, amazing old places. Like, it's just such a shame.
I've grown up with a few Iranian friends, so like it's a very rich culture. They're very lovely, friendly people, and they've been ostracized from the rest of the world thanks to their regime. Yep. It is pretty much almost like a hermit kingdom, besides their relationship with some other Middle Eastern countries and Russia and China and stuff. They've really held their people back with this kind of stupid theological extremism that they practice there. For what purpose? It's just ridiculous now. And it's just, would be great to have that place free so the rest of the world can obviously interact with them, travel there, experience one of the most, I guess, ancient civilizations as well. When you look at history and their contributions to the world, it's a shame that it's been shut off from the rest of the world for so long. So, like you, Avi, I'm looking forward to traveling to Iran, God willing, one day, and
we'll go together.
We'll go together. There you go.
Abby King, welcome, Abby. Good to see you on the chat.
Abby, thanks for the super chat. Perhaps there's a few notable people that endorse Trump and feel as though they deserve a personal shout out by Trump or some form of payment for it and aren't getting it. Well, I think Tucker, all these guys, Trump really treats them well. He brings them into the White House. He has special meetings with them. He talks very nicely about them. But some of them just can't help, I guess, spit in his face, really. That's the best way I can term it. Yeah. They just can't help it sometimes. When it becomes such when it's one of these contentious issues, they don't want to trust the guy. They're always like, oh, he should do it this way. And it's fine to get advice and things.
I feel like...
No, it's fine to get advice. It's fine to get advice. I think Trump needs to have other people around him telling him their personal views and things. But if you knew Trump from the start, you would know that, like you said earlier in the show, Avi, this has always been his position. So he's always talked about this position. So what are you guys talking about today?
And they know that. And Tucker knows that. Candace knows that. They all know that. They're timing it, trying to... they're grifting at this time. And they're trying to say... And the way that they do that, they go, look, I love Trump. I just think he's wrong about this now. And I think they'll argue that he campaigned against war. He did. He said, no new foreign wars. Well, firstly, he hasn't actually gone in on this war physically, that America hasn't done anything. But he also said peace through strength. He also has said Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. We have 16 minutes of different times over years of him saying that. And so there's actually no conflicting thing here. He's actually... The thing is, when somebody like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, who are so inconsistent with their... historically inconsistent with their political stances on stuff, then turning around and saying that Trump is not sticking to his word, when he's the only one out of all of you that has ever stuck on his word. You just don't like that part of the word, or you just feel like you can make something off the back of what he's doing by criticizing him. So you're actually capitalizing off it, and then tomorrow you're going to act like you're best mates with him again to try to get into the inner circle. Candace, I think, is a bit different because she got pushed out of that inner circle, a long time ago, before the election.
Yeah. And both Candace and Tucker have really, over the last few months especially, used Iran and the grandeur of this kind of Iranian regime and what they can do, and as this kind of warning to not do anything in that region, for Israel to back down and so on. So I think that's all kind of falling apart at the moment. So possibly trying to save face there as well. Midget Michigan gay warlord, Warworld. Great name. Thanks for the super chat. Tommy Tucker Carlson, mad geeked for real. What a schmuck. There you go.
We'll take that as a comment. Thank you for the super chat. I know that one was making a few rude comments that I couldn't bring up, so I appreciate you bringing on a comment that I can read. Here's one that we can read, and I actually kind of agree with this too.
Thanks, mate, again. Why not talk about the Assyrians? They are our bros.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, they've copped it the hardest, I think.
I do agree. I think the Assyrians, and they are one of the most ancient people. They are. They're written in the Old Testament. They talk about the Assyrians. Yeah. The Assyrians are much older civilization than many of the Middle East and the Arab nations or peoples or groups, whatever. So absolutely, I think the Assyrians are often forgotten. Again, while you're here, don't forget the Assyrians, Avi. They are our bros. I agree. I am not forgetting the Assyrians. I do love my Assyrian brothers. God. All right, so continuing on from that, looking at... Because this is not the first time Candace behaves like that. Candace has a history of this, and this is much more recent. This is only 2020, all right? So, yeah, you want to complain about Tucker being old. You say that there's newer stuff. I'm sure there's way newer stuff of Tucker. I just picked one I feel is Tucker versus Tucker. This is Candace Owens in 2020, and she's pointing out Iran has murdered 63 Canadian citizens in the missile attack and now legitimately attempting to destroy the evidence, contain the black box, and blame the West. Shame on every single one of you leftist sociopaths that spent the last 2 weeks defending this abhorrent regime. This is only 5 years ago. Yeah. What happened in that 5 years that this abhorrent regime is suddenly who she's fighting for against Israel. And you saw how she called them all. Yeah, I vaguely remember her making fun of Jordan Peterson recently for calling people psychopaths and sociopaths, and who
I think so.
politically disagree with her. That's exactly what she did. She is the most unself-aware person. All she does, or she doesn't care, because there are so many people that are willing to blindly follow you if you're saying what they want to hear today. Like, you know, we've also talked about this. Like, imagine I came out as an ex-Israeli soldier, as you know, with Israeli fella, and then started bashing on Israel. I would become the biggest account on all platforms quickly, because it is the easiest grift.
If I turned on Avi Yemeni and started being, I
would subscribe to you. Super chat now if you would support Rukshan.
I was blinded by the Mossad and Avi, and it was just too good, so I couldn't, and now I've seen the light. So therefore, all Jews are bad or whatever. If I was doing that, of course, it'd be very different. And early on, Avi, I realized that there is this great pressure that falls on people who are doing commentary and news around, especially Israel and Palestine, because when it all first started, the amount of messages that I got in my inbox, trying to shape and form my views
from both sides,
and then from one side, from the Palestinian side, I guess, and from Muslims and Arabs, whatever, and then how it over time, in a couple of days, morphed into like threats. Like the more I kind of didn't go down the path that they wanted me to go down, morphed into threats, then morphed into threats about, there's going to be hits out on you, and there's already hits out on Avi, whatever, like, you want to be in that, maybe think twice about what you're saying, like, or at least don't talk about it. It was like literally like, don't talk about it. Like, that's how it is. So I think a lot of people fall to the pressure of that and don't want to have opinions, so they don't get involved, or they just go down the easy path, because there is an easy path in this whole issue where it's just bashing Jews. Like, people just do it. Like, it's just like, it feels like it's just easy for a commentator to just do that. And it's like, there's no critical thinking there. No one's looking into you. Like what we're doing to Candace right now. If you look at her history, she's all over the place. So,
mate, and nobody's going to attack you walking down the street. You don't have to look over your shoulder. There's no problem. There's no groups of Jews or pro-Israel that are running around attacking or threatening like this, where it turns dangerous and violent. We're seeing people around the world getting attacked, shot, killed, just for having the wrong opinion here. So, and ironically, the right.
It's very real. It's true. It's true. Like, it's literally like, even in Australia, that's kind of what it's like when you get deep into this issue. Like, literally, like, there are threats. Like, it's just random. Like,
I've experienced it in real life. Walking down the street, it's not just something on the internet. It's overwhelming sometimes on the internet, but in real life as well. Sometimes I worry. You walk around, you're with your kids. It's always in the back of your mind. I'm super. I try to have spatial awareness to see what's around me, because I know that this threat is true, and you don't get that on the other side. So I do understand the temptation of moving there, but. I understand the temptation of not wanting to talk about it, because it is scary. It is overwhelming, especially if you don't have a dog in the fight. Why would you? Why would you risk yourself? Unless you're just one of those persons. There are, this entire conflict since October 7 has really brought out the worst in people and the best in people. You've seen people that have come up that you maybe not necessarily politically agreed with them on everything, but then you saw how they had moral clarity and the backbone to stand behind it, even though it got hard. And then you saw people that just went silent, that'll come and tell me, like, I agree with you, I just don't want, I've got a life here, I don't want to ruin that. And then you saw people going the complete opposite, like Candace. Like, even look at Candace. There's another video here. This is Candace from a few years ago as well, right?
Let me ask you something. So you're a proud Muslim. You're very, very proud of your faith.
Absolutely.
And you're also unapologetically pro-Israel.
Absolutely.
And some people go, whoa, how does that happen? Because we see usually the narrative, especially when you're talking about the Middle East, it seems that all of the blame, they always want to blame Israel, no matter what. The strangest things, anything could happen. It could not rain for 3 days. And it's curse Israel, the Israel state, the IDF, they've brought about all of this. Where does that stem from? And how have you been able to separate yourself from that narrative? And I say narrative because you've been clear that this is not the way actually the majority of Muslims in the West feel, but because we have people that are in power that are using their voice to put this narrative out there, it's become worse and it's become uglier. Let me ask you something. So you are
the framing of the question.
That's a classic example of Candace.
And how do you go from that to being exactly what she describes? So it's a bit like the Tucker one, and I accept the Tucker one's older, but you can find more recent ones if you want to. That shift from there to there. It's not like I understand when Tucker says, I supported the Iraq war and I got that wrong. Right? But it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's with Tucker particularly, I do think it's the same. I do think he supported the Iraq war because the channel that he was working for, that they supported, and it was just a grift. Like, this is a grift for him, but I can understand that as an argument that maybe in hindsight, you formed a different opinion about it, because that's what hindsight does, especially with wars like this, like those. But to turn around and literally become the thing that you're describing, so you've thought it through, you've already had all the information there. It's not like new information has come to light that you've known it, you've picked a problem, you've gone. There are all these people that just blame Jews and Israel for everything. And then you 5-10 years later, you turn into that person that you were describing that blames Jews and Israel for everything. He's clearly just a grift.
Yeah, she's kind of like a meme now, really. If you're paying attention, you can't take a lot of things seriously, unfortunately.
And there's other ones. Let's look at, it's funny because he literally, comic Dave Smith, somebody who is he built, he's meant to be a comedian that nobody would have seen before his whole grift of being a Jew.
Never heard of him.
No one heard of him until he started being the Jew that spoke out about Israel. And so today he called for Trump to be impeached, right? And that's the big story because he supported Trump. But our friend Nathan,
Milk Bar TV.
Yeah, Milk Bar TV. So shout out to Milk Bar TV. Made a quick video, as he does, which is always so good, his videos, because he pulls up people in their own words, and often Candace and people like that make it into it because they just contradict each other themselves, or they anyways. Watch this one. He does great videos like this all the time, and you should give him a follow. Go to Milk Bar TV, give him a follow because he deserves it. We often air his work because he does the hard yards.
I would be very happy for to see Donald Trump impeached for the illegal, immoral, borderline war of genocide that he's been helping the Saudis conduct in Yemen. Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison, just right alongside Barack Obama and George W. Bush and John McCain and all the rest of them. Let me just say this real quick. Donald Trump should be in prison for war crimes for what he did to the people of Yemen. How's that for taking on the right? You're just defending your Democratic president. Good. I actually stand on principle. Lockdowns and keeping Fauci on the job and Yemen and Israel and Iran, and there's just like the government spending, and there's just a lot of them that it's like I just kind of can't forgive him for, but I think I might vote for Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump, listen, man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one, but he should be impeached and removed for this one.
And the difference with him is he acted like he was...
Breaking news. So apparently massive explosions heard in Tehran just now.
Let's see if Al Jazeera's got any music. Before I flip over to that, the difference in him is he was literally he was so anti-Trump then saw the shift with his audience, jumped on it, audience capture, and then today he's gone, oh, I can go back to my old thing. That is the definition of a grifter, somebody that doesn't actually stand by anything.
I mean, look, I don't know why people even care about these guys. These guys aren't really, obviously, the heartland of the MAGA kind of people. They just
they think they are. I think they hold way less thing than they really do. Let's see what Al Jazeera
the G7 summit. It seems that Donald Trump was quite annoyed by that. I mean, you saw the tweet or the Truth Social post he put out in which he referred to him as a publicity seeker, said he'd got it all wrong and he was aiming for something much bigger. Of course, for much of the night.
Instead, give me 2 seconds because they'll probably have it. We can.
I think I don't know how to say her name. She's a Persian lady. I think
I'd rather get it from
You know what I'm talking about. She just shared some photos.
She shared it.
I know, there's a lot of old clips and stuff being shared.
Exactly. That's why I wait a minute with these ones, especially those accounts, because those accounts often.
Bushra something from England. She does a lot of. She's a Pakistani lady. She just shared it, like Mossad headquarters being like blown up or something, and it was like literally a video from China, like some incident in China.
Yeah, they all do that.
They're all recycling these Chinese things.
Well, I'm watching the Israeli TV. It doesn't look like there's anything now. We'll take a look later, but we'll see what happens. And it's not only like it's not only names that big names like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or now the new. Dave Smith. It's also like ridiculous accounts on X. There's heaps of these kind of faceless accounts. There's this red pill media that is saying, I am an American citizen. Not me. What is that?
I was saying that guy's not me.
Yeah. Born and raised in America, I refuse to die for Israel, because that's the whole narrative. That's the America first thing. Yeah. Screw Israel. What are you going to do? Like, even if you are American, like Tucker Carlson says, I don't want my sons to die for. What are they going? If anything, if Israel doesn't sort out this problem and Iran has a nuke, maybe one day they will die for not Israel for not letting Israel do what they got to do. But anyway, somebody did the check on it, and it turns out Red Pill's Media X is actually. Abdul Abba 673 Abdul Abbas in Karachi, Pakistan, of an iPhone 11. And you know that thing where they say every accusation is actually a confession, because their whole narrative is that all those pro-Israel accounts are actually just Indian bots. That's their whole that they keep saying. And the funny thing is that I've noticed more and more is that all those, like some of those really big the faceless pro-American, America First account, they're all actually Pakistani. And there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going on both sides.
Yeah, so people might not know this, but there's actually a massive information war campaign that happens between India and Pakistan. So there's this massive industry between both these countries where they try to disparage each other. And especially the Pakistan, for instance, being Muslim majority country. So what happened is when this kind of war kicked off, a lot of these accounts, which had the ability to have these bot farms where they could quickly gain followers and look legitimate, they came up with these like American sounding names or the Inevitable West or whatever. There's like all these different ones, right? Some of it's in the other direction as well. And they just came out of nowhere. A lot of people started following them. They started saying all these kind of like, pro-American or pro this and pro that to get a certain audience. And then when push comes to shove on certain things, you'll see them switch their tone to be like anti-Jew or anti-Muslim, whatever. So it's literally a disinformation and misinformation campaigns within Southeast Asia now being turned towards, obviously the Jew hatred within Pakistan and countries like this is off the scales. I mean, there's people in Pakistan that are saying, let's give a nuke to Iran so they can nuke Israel. So that's kind of the type of individuals you're dealing with. And so they're pretty much trying to turn the world against what Trump must, what Trump has to do by saying it's America first. But really, it's just a bunch of Pakistanis who are using bots to try to change the opinions of Americans. So I think that's what you're trying to allude to, Avi. And
speaking of
I just want to
Pakistanis,
background for that. Yeah, so this guy's obviously another. I don't know if he's Pakistani, but he's obviously another retard.
He's a Pakistani based in the UK. Yeah, he's Pakistani.
This guy's embarrassing. I'm sorry for using that language.
Anyone that he gets a lot of engagement, but I don't know how much of it is real.
No, they got bot farms. They got bot farms.
Yeah, I'll show you something actually that is interesting from our friend Misfit Patriot. He did one today. That was an interesting video that I think more people need to see. Mm-hmm. But he goes, Iran targeting infrastructure and building in Tel Aviv used by Israel to store F-35 jets and submarines. Look at the picture he's showing.
I've seen so funny
it's from Star Wars.
I know, it's a Star Wars destroyer or whatever.
The thing is, he just doesn't care because even that gets 20,000 likes, 3.5 million views. He's getting paid, and he's creating this narrative that Israel is the evil one. It doesn't even have to be true. He's announced, several mass explosions, Tel Aviv down, Israeli military, mass taking massive hits and things like that. Like, nothing's true. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's like the narrative.
Yeah, they just say anything.
And then when Syria falls, these people, when something happens, it completely goes against the narrative that they can't argue. Like when Iran falls, it's going to be some other crazy cope. I wouldn't mind. I'll show you this video. I don't know. Did you see Misfit Patriot today? He did a good one on.
No, I haven't seen this yet.
I'll play it now. It's good. He swears a bit in it, so that's just what he does. I've shared it today, so I'll pull it up quickly, just because I think it's worth it, because it shows you what some of them are doing in order to look.
But yeah, while you're looking for that, there has been really lots of funny memes of, like someone mentioned the Death Star, all types of Star Wars pictures that people are putting up now saying, oh, look what they just shot down, as a joke.
Good morning, Internet. All right.
Yeah.
Good morning, Internet. All right, so if I were to tell you that there's an account on the Internet who's anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, and this is their growth rate, who do you think I'm talking about? Yeah, that's Ian Carroll. And he's really upset with me right now because I called him a fucking hypocrite. I actually called him, Dave Smith, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand, I called all of them hypocrites, because 200 Christians were slaughtered in their homes overnight in Nigeria. And whenever you hear one of these stories from Africa or fucking Yemen or fucking anywhere that isn't filled with Jews, these motherfuckers are quiet as a church mouse. But look, I said, hey, the only time they care about civilians is when Jews fight back against terrorists. And then this is Ian's response right here. Because we aren't getting dragged into war with Nigeria, dumbass. Yeah, but I thought it was about the dead kids. I thought it was about the dead kids. That's what I'm saying. If you look at any of these people's accounts, they're always just talking about how evil and immoral Israel, because the dead kids. I didn't realize that according to Ian, it's really just because he's a pussy. And I don't know, is he even old enough to get drafted? Why do you give a fuck? But no. It's not about the dead kids anymore. To which I replied, well then shut the fuck up about the dead kids. It's a non-stop struggle session of purity tests with you fucking people. Okay with it? I never fucking die. And honestly, this motherfucker wants one. All right? And say, hey, I'm a pussy or a coward, or tell the truth, I'm being paid by Qatar. Because they are. This is Ian Carroll's engagement. It's 90% paid views. It's 158% paid engagement. And when you go to the average engagement rate distribution, he's here. He's a grifter. This is a grift. It's a grift for a lot of them, all right? They get money to talk shit about Israel because Qatar has a big fucking bag of it. And they will literally throw money at the dumbest fucking internet content creators who will sell themselves and their countries out for radical Islam as long as it means that they can work in front of a fucking ring light. Oh, one more thing I forgot because people are going to ask. I got those screenshots from Hype Auditor and Modash, right after asking Grok if Ian Carroll's engagement was legit. And Grok basically was like, yeah, usually people see a 1 to 3% engagement rate. So there's no definitive proof, but here's Ian's. Across platforms, it's between 10 and 12%. Nobody gets that engagement unless they're either being funded by somebody who has a lot of money or they're spending their entire fucking paycheck just to be the most popular person on the internet, which they wouldn't even be because bots don't give a fuck. Okay, now you remember what Ian's engagement rate is, above average, way above average. Okay, now we remember what Ian's engagement rate is with 1.7 million followers, 90% paid views. Let's go to the Daily Mail. Okay, use the same program. 22 million followers, 10 times as much, roughly. 4.63 engagement rate. Oh, and by the way, their benchmark is above the median because when you don't buy all of your likes and followers and you don't have bots following you, it's called organic engagement. That's where that comes in. Guys, the vast majority of people that you follow on the internet are fucking fake, all right? They literally lie to you with their accounts. Why would you trust what they actually type out?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, obviously he talks a lot, swears a lot,
Yeah, I know.
even though he makes good points. Sometimes, actually, Avi, it's actually inadvertent. So these Pakistanis and these Bangladeshis and stuff, they actually, the services that they offer paid to everyone else to like boost their accounts. When it comes to these kind of, anti-Israel accounts and stuff, they just offer it in the background. They just do it just to kind of boost the profiles of these people that they want out more. So sometimes it's actually happening without even the intervention. So they might think it's organic growth, but a lot of it's just the bot farms that they're running to boost that. They want that view to be seen as the dominant view of society. But even in Australia, if you go out onto the street, you ask most people, it's not the dominant view in the way that it's been described. So it's take it as you will, but there is a lot of dodgy stuff going online.
Yep, 100%. And I think just look, most of the people probably viewing us are already partially or mostly critical thinkers that don't just accept everything they see on the internet. But it's good to be aware of it and to educate people around you that the internet isn't always as it seems, and there is a lot going on in the back end. There are a lot of people with different agendas that are pushing them. Does that mean that everybody that's doing everything is being paid for it? I don't buy into that as well. I get told that all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that. People do actually stand principled and believe in stuff and stand up for the things that they believe in. But also, in certain cases, some people, whether Qatar, in that case, it's like whether a Qatari organization says, hey, if you talk about this issue, we will pay to boost you. We're not even paying you. They might pay you, but they might not even. They might say we will pay to boost your content so you get a following. Yep. That's the incentive for you, and that kind of stuff happens for sure. And people also do just get paid. Like I get offers all the time in my inbox to do a post about something or whatever. I never do it. I probably should start. I should do the Israel ones, anti-Israel ones. They pay well by the looks of things. Let's read a couple of these.
I'll go talk to the while I'm in Sri Lanka. I'll go speak to the Sri Lankan bot farms and tell them about you. They can maybe have a look.
Thank you. There you go, super chat.
Baz the Dark Horse, come on lads, Candace is hot and we all excuse hot chicks that are stupid. P.S. You're just mad with MTG for exposing your space lasers. Vote one Rukshan for PM. Thanks, mate. That's a great super chat. Thank you.
That is a good super chat. I totally agree with all that you said.
Everything.
No, I don't. I don't actually find it hot, but whatever.
This is again Michigan Gay War World. I just want to say that again. Dave Smith is a capo and a grifter. Schmuck energy. Kapo.
Kapos, they're the Jews that helped the Nazis. He would be one of those capos for sure. I think that's how he's viewed within the Jewish community. A capo, he doesn't really have a connect. Like people that just because they ethnically have some sort of Jewish connection, who are trading on that connection to be able to be elevated and amplified, like that their view on Israel counts more because they have a Jewish dad or a Jewish mum. I don't know what his connection is, but I can tell you he's not somebody that's connected to the Jewish community in any way, or his community, or his Jewish faith. He's not really, I'm not Jewish by faith really, but I'm Jewish ethnically, and I'm very connected to my Jewish community and my Jewish roots, and I do practice a lot of Jewish stuff more for cultural reasons rather than belief in God.
Yeah.
Dave Smith doesn't do any of that. The only time he brings up his Jewishness is to use it against the Jewish state, the only Jewish state in the world.
And well, just to interject again on what you're saying, you put up a photo the other day of you in your garb praying, and that actually became a very controversial post. I was quite surprised by the amount of hatred that you received for practicing your religion. I understand people might have different views or whatever, but at the end of the day, I mean, the argument that people make is it's not about hating Jews or all this kind of stuff, but just a reaction to that particular post you put up of you practicing your faith lends me to the belief that actually a lot of this actually is just Jew hatred, and the types of people that were commenting and the types of things that people were saying, it was quite baffling. Like, these are the same people who are saying that no, it's not about Jews and it's about what Israel's doing. It's about genocide and all this stuff. No, I think it's just Jew hatred. In most instances.
That's what I've been saying the whole time, and that's why, like, even fans that say to me, "All right, get off the, no, stop acting like the victim or whatever." Well, all I wrote on this post is I'm a Jew and I've never been prouder, and so every time you go to, I was actually at my my niece's bat mitzvah, and my brother-in-law's brother, Tom. So what they want to do, they want you to put on those are called the tefillin. They want you to put it on. That's part of their thing, like to get people to do it, gives them a good deed, whatever, gives you a good deed, whatever. Do I believe in, not, like when I say I'm a proud Jew, it's because culturally, especially after being under attack and so many generations where they tried to wipe us out and people have fought, bled, died after persecution, that I'm so connected to my Jewish culture and heritage that I'll never give it up. But so when he asked me to do it, I'm like, yeah, I'll put it on. I generally do when they ask me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put a photo up, and I will just write that one line. And this is just on X, but I'm sure it's big on other platforms as well. 3.7 million views. I haven't even really, like, the only comments was the Tommy comments that I just engaged with just for a bit of banter. But I'm sure that I know that you told me about, there's heaps of.
Well, you can go to your quote tweets. There's a few if you go to where they're quoted. If you look at your engagement or whatever.
Where is that? View post engagements, quotes, but you've got it. So Jesus is Lord. Of what? It's all hate. The quote tweets. You're right. The actual comments are mostly all right, or a lot of them are, but they're all. Every single one of them, make it 110. Like, it's all just hate against Jews. And what have I said in there? I'm Jew and I've never been prouder. That's like saying I'm a Christian and I've never been prouder. How is that? How do people that are sitting on the fence right now, that are watching this and thinking like the Jews are just overstating, or they're whinging about this like wave of Jew hatred that has been normalized? Just go look at the quotes of this tweet. And what I wrote, I'm a Jew and I've never been proud of it. You should be proud of whatever you are. Whatever you are, you should be proud of it. All of them. All these quote tweets, you're right. I did not even see that. That's what the haters do.
But the actual, the practice of what you're doing is something from the Old Testament. So
yeah, that's funny, I know. But
misunderstanding.
There's no real Christians that are writing that. Like the Christians, the ones with the cross and the Christ is King thing, we've talked about them many times before. They're not the ones sharing a tweet about somebody saying they're a proud Jew and then spewing hate. It's not the real Christians. Yep. Wayne, thank you for that super chat. Appreciate it. Every dollar counts.
Thanks, mate. Cruel intentions. I'm having a chicken schnitzel and baked veg. Not going to share. Stuff you all. Thanks for sharing your dinner menu with us.
That actually made me kind of hungry. Do you know where they actually make the best chicken schnitzels? Is in Israel. Actually, kosher chicken, for people who want to know this, the secret is kosher chicken. I don't like kosher meat. Kosher meat's not as good as normal meat. I don't care who says that. Sorry, Rabbi. Your meat sucks. But, that sounded wrong. But kosher chicken schnitzel in Israel is amazing. But any kosher chicken, if you go to the kosher butchers or go to the Jewish areas in Coles or Woolies and get the kosher chickens, it is tasty. It's because it's salty, I think, for the whole process. Like, there's no blood in it and it's salted. It's bloody expensive, but it tastes better. And the chicken schnitzel in Israel tastes amazing. Anyways, thanks for making me hungry. I don't know how we just got onto chicken schnitzel. What are we going to do? We should do a cooking segment of this show.
We should do a cooking segment.
What was this one?
It's another one from the gay war world. Dave Smith, much like Joseph Smith, is a grifter.
I don't know who's Joseph Smith.
Joseph
I don't know,
Smith
but all I know is that Michigan gay war world got a lot cleaner. A lot of the first comments were all about my genitals in Hebrew, I think. So I think that was the account doing it.
Matches the
all right. Name. Yeah. Now, okay, there's one video that that's going off topic that I wanted to, I think I'll just jump to that now. Yeah, we'll just jump to that. So there was that story of the, I don't know if we touched on it. Did we touch on it? Because that happen? Did we touch on it last show where they were trying to cross to Gaza? The march to Gaza, and we're making fun of all the...
No, we were touching on Greta. That was the end of Greta's saga. So this is the next big activist.
So there was a lot of funny stuff happening on... I don't know what day it would have been. It was over the weekend, I think. Where...
Yeah.
All right, so Greta inspires... I might actually bring up a couple of videos because I think the context is kind of interesting. I'll see if I can quickly find them. But what happened was... After Greta's whole little selfie yacht, which up until Israel's preemptive strikes on Iran was the best media Israel got for a long time, because it became, to anyone who was being honest with themselves and doesn't just hate Jews, it was quite clear that Greta was... And that whole thing was just a narcissistic voyage for clout. So after that, there was activists from
around the world.
From around the world. So there was like jihadi kind of activists, and then there was leftists who decided to go on a Gaza march.
Walk to Gaza.
Walk to Gaza from Egypt. So they were landing in Egypt and they were going to walk to Rafah, I think was the plan. Yeah. So through Egypt to Gaza and into Rafah. And boy, did they get a surprise. All right, so let's we'll watch a couple of videos. So there's the first video.
This is a feel-good story for the week.
Feel-good story to end the night with, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's watch one.
This is an emergency. We have just been violently dragged into the buses here at the first checkpoint on the way to Ismailia. We have We were sitting quietly and not doing anything. We were debating that we would leave soon in taxis back to Cairo because we did not break any law. And all of a sudden, several people stormed in and they started to push people and drag them violently outside. They have beaten people. I have seen one woman that was beaten in her face in front of me. They didn't leave time to grab the luggage or anything. Now we're beaten, and this is the bus is now full of people. I hope no one is seriously injured. This is a very shocking incident.
Stop. Into the video there.
Thank you. This live stream now. We are in danger. This is the. Thank you. So this is one of the Secret Service people that was just walking in here. I have to stop this live stream now. We are in danger. This is an emergency. We need help.
Someone wrote, it's a FAFO story. Yeah, it is a FAFO story.
100%. And let me show you actual videos. I'll just find videos of the...
we need to see the Egyptians at work because maybe some lessons there for the rest of the West in terms of dealing with some of these pesky activists.
I think those... What I would say, though, is that they're lucky they didn't get to Gaza because I still think that was a tame reaction to what, especially like some of those queers for Palestine, what they would get if they rocked up there.
Yeah. I think there's many points and lessons from this actual whole experience that we're having a bit of a laugh at it. And there's serious points to it as well, which is that, the view that the West has, this romanticized view of that region and versus the reality of what it's like and perhaps, what those countries themselves might think of the issue when it comes to their own national security. It's a massive reality check for these, especially these Westerners. Maybe some of the Arabs that travel there might have had a bit of a clue and thought they could get away with it. But, Egypt, even as a tourist, it's pretty hard. They're very strict there. And there's been so many shocking experiences that people have had traveling in Egypt as a tourist as well. So,
yeah. So it was funny because the Arabs that rocked up, which were like kind of Islamist kinds of guys, they got rounded up straight away and they were like cursing out in Arabic, whatever. Less interesting to me. That was just like Egyptian. They kind of expect it. They know that Arabs on Arabs, like it was no surprise. They were cursing out the Egyptians, whatever. But the lefties were much more like it was just to see how shocked they were that they weren't being welcomed with open arms into the Middle East.
هادو المتعاطف المحافل الطيب شوفوا هذا الشيء يديروا شوفوا هنا بشيوات المراوات شوفوا علينا شوفوا اش يديروا شوفوا القرار كلشي مثالي شوفوا هذا الشيء يديروا جابوهم باش يبقاو.
What'd you say?
So I just wanted you to pause to just give context to people that might have not seen this. So that is actually the security forces, the Egyptian security police is there in the background. There's an activist there, but they've carte blanche allowed these Egyptian locals, whatever some people are saying, Bedouins or whatever, I don't know, doesn't matter. Egyptian locals, a lot of them young kids, just to come there, take those people's luggage, take water bottles, whatever, and just start throwing it at them and abusing these activists. And then there's other videos of people actually dragging these activists away.
Yeah, I'll put one up now.
Secret police dragging them into vans and cars and taking them away.
I'll show you that.
Show all
now.
that stuff. But yeah,
I'll show you now, and then we'll go to that last video that I was trying to get.
All the passports confiscated. I mean, this is serious stuff. These people just go there and have no idea of the culture and their values and how they expect their societies to behave, and think they can just impose their Western, way of thinking about all these kind of concepts on those countries, and it's not that. It's not a pretty sight.
No, but it's like the biggest. It's like these people are so entitled, and they think that they can. Firstly, it's a lesson like this is who you've been rallying for. You realize this is the culture you've been rallying for against something like Israel. Like if you rocked up to Israel, that would never happen. If you get deported, you'll get deported for security reasons or whatever. But you won't see like the local forces
People beating them up.
Yeah, beating and like helping locals beat you up and dragging you in the way that you see in the other videos.
You'll get like a sandwich, like Greta, water bottles, some feed, some food, and you'll be put onto a flight and sent home. This was something else.
Yeah, I was just gonna find that one video where they're dragging him.
And I need you to find the guy that's speaking as well, the Welsh guy.
Yeah, I've got that one. That's my last one. That's what we're gonna end with.
That's the last one.
Yeah, I just want to find the
videos. Someone asked which group imported Rukshan. Mate, I am here at the behest of the Australian government, looking for skilled migration through my father. So no one imported me in the way that you're saying, but yeah, it's the country itself.
Here we go. Oh, there's I've got a few here, but there was one. Look, there's one, I think. The beginning part, but one by one they're dragging one by one, and you see that these, as it says, Egypt is going to town with the Intifada cosplayers. They end up like these lunatic lefties that traveled from across the West to march to Gaza end up like cowering as Egyptian forces. You can see they're dragging him onto the bus. They take him, they drag him one by one. They lose all their luggage. Their luggage is left there. Their passports are taken. Look at them you see how they start like running back. They're scared, and I don't blame them for being scared. But who do you think you were rallying for? What culture do you think you're supporting?
And this is just the Egyptian like security forces from the government. It's not even terrorists. So maybe they got a good lesson in maybe how the Israeli civilians felt when on October 7th when all that went down. I mean, this is just a brief taste of that type of terror.
This is a nice version. This is the nice version of what.
I mean, it's nothing like it, obviously, but just to show like the contrast in how the behavior in that type of the world is very different when it comes to these political issues.
There's video after video. They're grabbing him. They're hitting him. Anyways, and then there was video after video of them crying about the treatment that they received in Egypt. I guess they were expecting the red carpet. And then you had, in one of those cases, one Welsh man who was just so morally superior. We'll just read the super chats before we watch this video.
Yeah, it's a very embarrassing video, by the way.
Yeah, and you guys can super chat away during that video.
This is from Gay War World again. Thanks, mate. Teflon,
Tefillin, phylacteries come from Deuteronomy 6:5 onward. That's what you were talking about.
Oh yeah, and what we call the V. You say these words, man. Yeah. And you shall bind it as a sign upon your hand. Yeah, your heart and your hand or something, right? Sorry, your head and your... Is it your arm, is it? Where is it?
Yeah, so you put it on your arm
that's where you bind it.
And your forehead. And that's interesting. So, Gay War World, I thought was trolling me with his Hebrew gay words, but I think he was actually legit, and he's legitimately a Jew because what he's saying is true. Appreciate your gayness, my Jewish brother. Somebody's going to clip that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot I could say about that. Joe Smith is the Mormon. Oh, yes, Joseph Smith is the Mormon who, with loads of wives are gay. Yep. That's what he's talking about.
I didn't know that one.
You're entitled to your opinion. I don't want to offend any Mormons who are watching, so.
I do. What should I say? And then there is, sorry, I thought there was a story popping up in news.
Spets, Avi, you reminded me of I have a bone to pick with Israel. Send these lefty losers and Greta over the border and shut the gate. Hope your family is doing all right, from a Persian.
Thank you. And hopefully we can go and visit Iran together one day. That's the thing. Like, I'm conflicted about all that. I feel like Greta and these guys, let them go to Gaza. What's the problem? I want to go so badly. Let them in. Like, I don't have a problem with that.
I think it's a security nightmare for the Egyptians. I mean, can you imagine letting these people march across their city protesting? Because Egypt is very strict on protest anyway, to begin with.
And Egypt has a way bigger border than Israel. That's a funny thing. If you compare Israel's fence to the border on the Egyptian side, it's like, it makes the Great Wall of China look like nothing.
It's an epic wall, yeah. I'll let you read this one from your friend, mate.
My Michigan Gay War World says, yes, gay Jew from the UK here, bro. Laugh out loud. I was trolling before. All right. Yeah, because I felt like there was a few accounts, or some like with the that had some of the groper looking things, and they were all doing Hebrew and talking about my penis. It was. Listen, as long as you are super chatting, we completely support you and your comments. No, I really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the suggestion.
Okay, so this is the video that I want to end the night with because it is so satisfying to watch. This self-entitled, self-indulgent, white, out of touch, leftist nutcase who's trying to plead with I
love their faces. I love the faces of the Egyptians.
Yeah, watch the faces of the Egyptian when he's pleading with them about letting him cross to Gaza after they've forcibly deported most of his friends, or maybe that was, I don't know the timeline. This may have been before, after. It seems like at the end of it. Anyways.
A genocide of a people. Please,
times I've been to Palestine as a nurse. I paid for myself to go. They are hearing me. This man is wearing a Palestinian ring. They are all Muslim. This is a genocide of a Muslim people by Zionists.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you. They're not hearing you. They can't hear you.
Please.
They can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm a nurse. I saw them shooting people in refugee camps.
They are waiting for orders, and that's it.
I know.
They can't hear you.
But they don't have to follow the orders.
No, they are following.
They can allow us to stand for Palestine.
They are saying that they don't have choice. Like, they don't have
You do have a choice. You're humans. We're here for humanity. You are part of humanity. You are my brother. In Islam, you are my brother.
Are you Muslim?
Please, I saw them shooting pregnant women. Muslim women. These people aren't Muslims that are doing this. They're Zionists. They're not Jewish. Please, I stand for Islam. I stand for the people of Palestine. I'm a nurse and I'm a pacifist. I've come here out of love for my brother, my human brothers. I'm a nurse. I saw them shooting women. I saw them shooting children. Have you ever heard a starving child cry? Have you ever heard an Arabic woman trying to breastfeed her flaccid child as it dies and her breasts are empty because she's been starved?
Just 1 second. Like, I love how he's playing the race card over and over.
Yeah.
He's like, they're Muslims, they're Arabs, they're Muslims, and it's not. They're not Jews. They're Zionists that are doing this. It's like, mate, even they think you're retarded.
الطفل لأنه فيش حليب في الثدي تبعها.
Please.
وإحنا للأسف
I can't explain to you the horror.
على المعبر ما بنسبح
I can't explain to you the smell of starving babies.
لما الأطفال تموت حتى
كلب. Kalb, where is your heart? Where is your heart? I believe that the people of the Arabic nations have a white heart. I believe you are good people. They are starving children. I tried to feed these children and they shot at me. For love, for humanity, for Islam. Stand with your Islamic peoples. Please stand with your Islamic brothers and sisters. They welcomed me into their heart. I paid to go there as a nurse. They beat me in the desert for feeding starving Islamic children. Where is your qalb? Where is your heart? For the love of life and for the love of humanity. They're babies and women. The women are trying to feed their dying babies and their breasts are empty. Do you know what that smells like? Do you know what that sounds like? For humanity and for love, stand with your brothers and sisters in Palestine. I have never seen or experienced anything like it, please. I beg you, I'll go onto my knees and I will beg you for these people. I'm a proud man and I'm a nurse. I've paid to go to Palestine myself. I've had babies die in my arms. They shot pregnant women in front of me. For the love of humanity and for the love of...
Even just look at the Asian chick with her mind. She's kind of laughing at the dramatic, like, begging of the random Egyptian police that are just like, what, mate, you're not getting through. You think I'm going to defy an order because I'm a nurse? I'm a nurse for the love of God. I'm a nurse. I got beaten. In the desert, I got beaten. I got beaten for trying to feed a breast.
I like the guy that was translating before, the Arabic guy that was translating. He was very animated.
He was animated, but then he just gave up and walked away.
Even he gave up and he left. He's like, whatever, it's not working.
I think he realized this guy's escalating too much. It's too dramatic. I mean, they're like the Asian chick's laughing.
Islam, please don't do this. Allow us to march to Gaza. We're peaceful people. We're good people. We're Muslims. We're Christians. We're atheists. We're Jews. We are humanity. We are here for humanity. What are you here for? You don't have to do this. You don't have to follow the orders. Please, I'll go onto my knees and I will beg you. Allow us to march to Palestine. Please, you've got to listen to me. 30 years I've worked emergency. I've been to...
I mean, the audacity of these Westerners to turn up in Egypt and tell them how they should be doing things in their country and telling them about all these things that they should be feeling and so on. I mean, it's just insane. And I think that's just a perfect video that encapsulates so much of this so-called activism that we see in the West. It just does not mirror reality. And when you're hit in the face with the reality, like you saw this man right there in Egypt, there is a massive wall there that it's not getting through. And it's the same type of wall that's there in Egypt where the Gazans can't get through either. You know, this fantasized, romanticized idea about what's happening in Gaza and, you know, the Arab world coming together and stuff. I don't think that's the reality of, you know, what it is. These guys thought they would all land in Egypt from all around the world. There'd be like a procession for them and flowers being thrown at them, and, you know, all these doors being open, the Egyptians just like carrying them in carpets and, you know, giving them water and food as they go from town to town. Because it wasn't just a small trek, Avi. It was like a massive, they put out a map. It's a massive hike that they were planning to do from Cairo to Rafah. So it just doesn't mirror reality. And I think that's the problem with the West overall. And that's why these issues persist in our society. The romanticization of what this activism is not the reality. This is another play.
This is from the laughing chick, but it's funny. He has the DJI, the guy behind. The one that filmed the wide shot was on a DJI, but this one really captured his facial expression. Like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just insane. And I think there's another few videos.
Hold on. This is the Egyptian border, just to put it into
so that's
perspective.
Like a serious border. And
Israel side is a fence. This is the Egyptian side. You have the concrete bollards, and then you have like that intense wall.
I don't know if you've seen the video of in Iran right now. Obviously, there's these bombings happening, and there's a region in Iran next to Pakistan. And Pakistan had opened the borders there, and then people were like, just like, you know, walking through to safety or whatever. They're fearful. We didn't really see that happen at all for the Gazans, and they're just literally on the border of Egypt, which is apparently this country that fully supports their struggle and their cause, but they've all just locked them all in there. So again, these Westerners do not understand the complexities of the issue that they're facing. There is no way, I believe, that the Egyptian government would let these random Westerners come to their country, march to Rafah, and open the border for them.
This is the border.
It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and it's just delusional. And I mean, the only good thing that's come out of it is these hilarious videos of left-wing activists just completely being bamboozled.
And you know what happened to the last flotilla guy? This was the last flotilla guy, the Egyptian guy.
Yes,
who got in there.
I remember this thing.
And he got into. He did get in. They let him in like they should have let Greta. And this is how he ended up at the end of it all, because it was actually not Hamas. He became friends with all the Hamas guys, but another terrorist organization took him and ended up killing him. But that's the reality of these clowns. And like you put so well, they don't realize it until it smacks them in the face. Let's just read these last super chats, and I think we're good to wrap up for the night. What have we got here? We've got to cut a few more super chats. Oh, yeah. Smash your super chats now before we... Oh, something's happened here. Why can't I... It's giving me...
Is that coming up?
No, it's giving me some... Disk space getting low, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right. Let's go. Add to broadcast.
Thanks, mate, for another super chat. Wesley needs a decent haircut. Get off the snow. Yeah. He could be on something. Who knows? Just adrenaline, maybe.
Yeah.
Abby says, he has ruined Gavin and Stacey for me. I can never watch it again. Again, a reference to a show that I'm not... or something that I'm not familiar with.
No. I'm the worst for shows. But let us know in the comments. Did it ruin Gavin and Stacey for you? Thanks, Abby, for the super chat.
Gavin and Stacey has been ruined.
I'm not even going to bother watching it now that you say that, because it's probably ruined. Last but not least...
Mark Suckling, thanks for the super chat, mate. I was waiting for the Mel Gibson as William Wallace cry out for freedom from Haiti in Egypt. It was building up to that. That's what it was missing.
The way he got on his knees, like it was...
Yeah, should have yelled freedom. All the activists with the pink hair should have just then rushed the Egyptian border guards and try to get through. But alas, that didn't happen that way.
All right. Well, I think that.
Hey, someone's saying, you know, I just want to say, someone's saying nothing hilarious about genocide. I don't understand why you're laughing about it. We're not laughing about genocide. We're laughing about the stupidity of the lunatic
virtue signaling leftists who travel there.
That the Egyptians, you're seeing the reaction of the Egyptians. If it was such a thing as you're saying, why aren't the Egyptians, like that guy was saying, Gavin or whatever, where is their open heart to let them cross the border and solve world peace? It's not. The reality of the world is much different to what these activists painted out to be. And this is the truth, cold, hard reality. And parts of it is funny because you have these woke Western leftists preaching to people in Egypt, in their own country, about how they should feel about things and deal with things which are happening at their border. Do they have a right to do that? I don't know. Maybe you think they do, but clearly the Egyptians don't give a crap about what these activists have to say.
Hold on, I think we just got one more super chat that sent me, and I'm just checking if it's. Don't know where they're referring to. Oh yeah, I do. Hold on. Give me 2 secs, I think. So I'll chuck it on the thing. If you want your super chats, this is your last chance.
Cruel intentions. Hey, Avi, just sent a DM over the other place. A statement from the Persian princess, if you want to read it.
So the Persian princess is Noor Pahlavi. That's the daughter, I think, of the prince.
Yeah, she recently got married, right?
Yeah, she goes, as I watch Iranians flee to safety while Israel targets the repressive apparatus of the Islamic Republic, my heart aches for every innocent soul caught in the crossfire, used as human shields by a regime that has long held its people hostage. My thoughts are especially with the brave activists, artists, and intellectuals in Evin prison, and with all those who for years have risked everything to stand against tyranny. Though I've grown up in exile, the wounds of the Islamic Republic have touched my family deeply. We carry the memory of our country lost, loved ones taken, and dreams postponed. And yet, today, I feel a shift, a reckoning long overdue for Iran's oppressors and captors, a whisper of redemption for the unjustly imprisoned, a solemn honouring of those who gave their lives for freedom. For years, I've prayed my grandmother might live to see her beloved. I've prayed my grandmother might live to see her beloved homeland again. For the first time, that prayer no longer feels impossible. May justice rise, and may light return to the land we still call home. So that's the princess of Iran, and I think that sentiment is very widespread. Yep. I've seen estimations of 70 to 80%.
Yeah, and I think the son of the last Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, as well, who's kind of the lead candidate. Let's say there was a regime change, they've kind of put him out as a person that can potentially.
I think that's the way it's supposed to go according to the dynasty. That's going back to the
have a transitional role, and he's obviously been doing the media rounds, and even the left wing media have now been having him on to spread his message and do these things. So there's a massive shift happening and a change happening. Whether that leads to regime change, I don't know. I still don't think the US should, or the rest of the world should, try to enact a regime change. Regime change is more successful if it comes from the people. Yeah,
but I think this regime change is different. I don't think you could compare it to something like Libya or Egypt or that whole Arab Spring era. These are not Arabs. These are Persians. These are people returning to something that they already had, something they already know. They are educated, smart, driven people. And you know what? The Iranians, the Persians that I've met around the world that escaped the Islamist regime are all yearning to go back. And they will go back.
Yeah.
So I hope to God, thank you, Cruel Intentions, and thank you to everyone for passing that on so I can read it out. But thank you to everyone for joining us tonight on the streams, for everyone that's shared it, and all the super chats. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying these Tuesdays and Thursdays at the moment. We might start, I don't know, maybe we'll start doing it even more than those 2 nights. I have fun at these with these lives. I don't know about you, Rukshan. Maybe I'll find a co-host that actually offers something to the audience. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. No, I'm enjoying it. Maybe we can do more. What happened to that the Lebanese co-host we had? He's disappeared for a bit.
Yeah, he's back soon. He's back.
He's back. All right.
No,
I'm
he's not
joking,
back
I'm
yet. He's
joking.
back next month, I think.
We'll
He's
have
away.
Joel back on. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching, and you can follow me at The Real Rukshan on X. I'm sharing a lot more views there. Actually, come join in the conversation. I do share my view on things which are happening. Whether you like it or not, you can come join the conversation. Thanks, guys.
If you're on my socials, just go to followrv.com. I've got all my links there. You can check it there, followrv.com. Otherwise, good night. Stay safe. Love you. Hopefully, tomorrow we have some even better news. If there are breaking news, make sure, if you're whatever platform you're watching on now, hit the subscribe and that notification bell, especially on YouTube, because when there is breaking news, like I did on Friday, we just jump live and we unpack it as it happens. It's fun. We do it together. Instead of having it turn on, one channel, we scroll it together and we find out what's happening in real time, and we try to unpack it in real time. But for now, God bless.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.